Hello and welcome to Rockingham for round 3 of the British GT Championships. Yes, you can see it's a beautiful summer's day here at Rockingham. Not quite. The rain has started to come down just a little bit at the moment. Will it get stronger? Will it get heavier? That's the question. We've already had one wet race this year. Will we get another? This, of course, the 2-hour endurance feature race. And around me, there are mechanics and engineers going, no, it's going to be dry. Let's wait and see. Notoriously, when I go to a race, it always rains. So I apologise right now if people are blaming me and thinking it's totally my fault. It possibly is. But whatever happens over the next 2 hours, we will have some cracking racing for you. We had a great qualifying yesterday. We've got a full grid lined up of GT3 and GT4 cars. And the championship at this point is, of course, wide open for all to try and win races and climb that leaderboard. So, in our commentary box, we are very lucky to be joined by the wonderful duo of Charlie Henderson, Butler Smith. Where am I going with his name even? That's not his name, of course you know that. And Andy Guion is up there as well. Guys, it's when it's windy, and where has your name gone, Charlie?
Charlie Butler Henderson.
I've added a name to you. I don't even know why I did
We've just been chatting for the last 20 minutes as well.
He's probably been called worse, though, let's face it. Well, thank you very much, Jenny, for that down in the pit lane. And Jenny already is looking rather chilly down in their pit lane as the cars start to make their way out. Yes, round number 3 of the 2018 British GT Championship of 2018 is not that far away. The car's heading out onto the track, and we will have 2 hours of racing coming your way a little bit later on. My name is Andy McEwen. The person next to me, what's your name, Charlie?
Charlie Butler Henderson.
That's the one, there we go. Charlie Butler Henderson joining me ahead of this third round of the championship. Well, Charlie, Alton Park a few weeks ago was beyond wet. It was underwater, quite frankly, for most of that day. At the moment, conditions are better than that, but they are deteriorating from what we've had so far this morning, haven't they?
Well, I've been down in the pit lane. It's bitterly cold down there. It's windy down there, and the drivers, okay, yeah, if they're a natural driver and they don't mind it in the rain, they're not really complaining. But some of these proper GT3 cars, like the Bentleys, for example, are pretty much undrivable. Even the works teams that race in the Blancpain series have been saying that the cars are pretty much undrivable in this weather. So Rick Parfitt, for example, will not be happy that there's a bit of a drizzle of rain. And also none of the teams will as well, because they've been preparing the slick tyres, getting them all warmed up, and it's just now throwing a complete massive spanner in the works by having a bit of a drizzle of rain.
Yeah, the Bentley team will be really annoyed, because so far today we had some overnight rain that had dried up by the time we got our first on-track action earlier on this morning with the warm-up session, and they were really hoping it would be a dry race. There's a chance it could dry out. If I'm being optimistic here, looking out of the commentary box window, it's getting a little bit clearer. If the rain doesn't develop fully, we could still end up with a dry racetrack, but it's going to be a fascinating race. 2 hours, of course, so the weather could change over the course of the race. It may start off wet and dry out, or vice versa. We could have these little showers that come and go over the course of the race. That makes tyre choice a nightmare. They'll all ideally want to start on the slick racing dry tyres, but if the rain does come, that might force an unscheduled pit stop. We've got a full field of cars here today over GT3 and GT4 classes, as is usually the case. The quicker GT3 cars at the front of the field, where we have the likes of Bentleys, Aston Martins, Nissan GTRs, Lamborghini Huracans, McLarens and Mercedes as well. In fact, we've got 6 manufacturers represented in GT3, but 8 manufacturers, Charlie, represented in GT4, which is a class of racing that is really starting to catch people's attention, isn't it?
Yeah, massively. It used to be full of Ginettas. Now it's now full pretty much of McLarens. There's only like 2 or 3 Ginettas on the grid, really. They're mainly McLarens. There's been a big push financially and from a youth point of view going up through the levels of motorsport. McLaren are really investing heavily in getting younger drivers up through the levels into the championship. So yeah, GT4, we need to keep a close eye on GT4, because some of them might even be out there with the GT3 cars, even though there's a definite power difference and a tyre compound difference, etc.
Yeah, especially if it's a bit damp and greasy out there as well. The more powerful your car is, the harder it's going to be to drive. Within GT4, we have lots of McLarens and Ginettas, as Charlie was alluding to. We also have the Mercedes AMG that we can see on the track there. We've got Aston Martins, we've got Toyotas, we've got BMWs, we've got the Jaguar F-Type, which is a gorgeous car. 2 of those cars with the Invictus Games livery adorning them out on circuit as well. So the GT4 category equally as dramatic as we have at the front of the field in GT3. So the cars are starting to leave the pit lane now by and large, and we have the number 75 car there in pit lane, which won the opening round of the championship. Down in the pit lane, as we've already seen though, is Jenny Gow, and I believe she's found Rob Bell.
Yes, and conditions down here, as you can tell, a little cold, a little breezy as well, and very difficult for the guys on the car to try and work out what to do. Have you got any inkling as to what conditions and what tyres they're going to have to run?
No, is the honest answer. So obviously it was wet yesterday, it was dry this morning. It looked like it was going to be happily dry all day, and then we've just had no rain really, just what seems to be a really heavy mist. So the track's pretty treacherous again, and we're sitting here kind of wondering if we've made the right call, and I guess it'll be, I think it's slicks, and I think it'll be hard for the first 5 or 6 laps. Just stay on the track, and then hopefully it'll come back to us.
You're starting from row 3. How confident do you feel going into a 2-hour race and being the one sort of on the sidelines?
Well, this morning when it was dry, Sean did a fantastic job in warm-up, and we were confident again after yesterday where we weren't so much. And then after the sort of events of the last 5-10 minutes, I'm not really sure anymore. Look, let's just see if we get around the first 10 minutes or so, and with Sean when he gets his head in gear, and if the track comes to us, then I'm confident.
And just tell us, what are the main aspects of trying to do Rockingham well? What are the things as a driver that you have to take into mind?
Just monitoring the track, because it's notorious for lack of grip. So if it's dry, that's fine. If it's raining, it's fine. It's in the middle when it's greasy, neither one or the other, and it's treacherous, and it's like literally like ice with oil on top. So it's just get around until things come to you, and then then go for it. But I think the clever thing to do is it's a 2-hour race. Let's just get into it really. So you just got to read that situation.
Okay, well, best of luck. Good luck to Sean as well. Over to you in comms, and I'll see who else I can find down here.
Yeah, thanks, Jenny. It's starting to get rather busy down there on the grid as the bulk of the field have now made their way out. It's fair to say there was no real rush from the teams to get the cars out there. They were waiting, I guess, to see what the weather was going to do and what tyres they were going to send the cars out on. At the very front of the grid, we will have a Lamborghini. There it is, the Demon Tweaks liveried car, shared between John Minshaw and Phil Keane, as it ever has been. And that is a stunning looking car, a very quick car indeed, but they haven't really had the rub of the green so far this season of Barwell Motorsport. They did, though, manage to get a victory in race 2 at Alton Park. Race 1, they started way back. They had to fight their way through the order, but the Barwell team always wants to watch in British GT, aren't they? They're one of the lead teams. It doesn't seem to matter what track we're at, what the conditions are, they're always in the mix.
Yeah, they are, definitely. And that was Phil Keane that we saw there. That's done a lot of driving over the years, and has been partnered now with John for a number of years, really. So that's one of the cars that I would love to drive, is that Lamborghini. That and the BMW and the Mercedes, I suppose. All the others wouldn't turn my nose up to it, but there's such a mix of cars, like you were saying earlier. But yeah, I think Jenny was down there. Well, it looks like she was trying to get a word with one of them down there with a Lamborghini, but it's the weather. Oh, there you go.
Yes, we have, I believe, Jenny has found Phil Keane, who we were just chatting to, or just saw chatting down on the pit lane. Over to you, Jenny.
Yes, I have. Phil, freezing cold. We've already spoken about the conditions. John's in the car, but how do you tackle this one from pole?
Well, I think we just need to get away well and stay out of trouble, really. I think it's going to be slippery for the first few laps, so we'll see how he gets on. You know what John's like, so I think he likes these conditions, so as long as he keeps his head, I think he'll be fine. Yeah,
it is about tackling it cleanly, isn't it, on those first few laps, and making sure that you can try and keep your position, but you're going to have your challenges around you, aren't you? Who are you most cautious of?
Well, I think all the Astons are going to be good around here. We struggle with tyre degradation a little bit here, so halfway through the race it does get tough for us. So we'll see what happens.
Conditions wise, there's a mixed bag. People thinking that it's probably slicks. Are you in agreement?
Yeah, it's not gonna rain enough. The radar says there's no rain due, so it may be like this for half an hour, but it'll remain on slicks. So
okay, Lovely stuff. We will catch up with you at some point during the race. Good luck. Thank you very much. Well, the buzzers are going off. We're going to have to clear the grid, but we will bring you lots of interviews as we go through this race.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jenny. Phil Keane then confidently predicting that the rain is not going to get any heavier. I tend to agree with him right now, but ask me again in 5 minutes when the cloud's back, and that opinion may well have changed. The Lamborghini, of course, Charlie, a mid-engined car. We've got the same thing with a couple of the cars in the field, but actually the bulk of the field, the Aston Martins and the Bentleys and the Nissans, front-engined. And we were discussing earlier on, weren't we, that there are strengths and weaknesses to the two different options, aren't there?
Well, speaking to Mark Lemmer, who is the boss of Barwell Motorsport, who runs that Lamborghini for Minshaw and Keane, said that the Lamborghini struggles for the first few laps with front grip because the engine is obviously towards the back of the car. They haven't got the weight distribution. It doesn't get as much heat into the front tyres, whereas the Astons will be quite quick early on in the race because they can light up and warm the rear tyres up, and I believe there are going to be 2 green flag laps because, not of the weather change that we've just had, just because the drivers have not had enough dry time running. And also the clerk of the course, Peter, clerk of the course, wanted actually the cars to have more heat into the tyres. So I believe, unless it's changed, we're giving them 2 green flag laps. And we'll talk more about the tyres on each car, the difference in handling throughout the race. But yeah, Lamborghini struggles with front end grip initially. Astons will be good straight away, and the others, yeah, the McLaren will probably struggle with the Bentley throughout the race, but in the wet anyway, especially. But Phil, you know, they've got lots of data, they've got lots of laptops in the pit crews and the garages, and they've got a very good relationship with the local airfields, etc., of finding out what the weather's going to be like. So I do actually trust Barwell and Phil Keane's prediction of the fact that it's not going to rain.
Yes, that's a formidable pairing, Barwell and Phil Keane, and John Minshaw, the AM driver in the car. But I almost feel bad calling some of the AM drivers in this championship AM drivers because they're very good in their own right.
Yes.
It will be the, in inverted commas, AM drivers that start the race, though. So the gentleman racers, the less experienced racers who will be in the cars for this first stint. And as the cars head out onto their green flag laps, Flick Haig there on the outside of row 1, a little slow away in her Aston Martin. Flick, who made history at Alton Park last time out, becoming the first ever outright female pole sitter and the first ever outright female race winner in British GT. And there are more and more very quick lady racers coming up through the ranks, and that is exactly what we want to see. So the GT4 field filing through a little bit further back as well, and that is actually where we find more cars than in the GT3 field, and some very, very close competition indeed. The field in GT4 headed by Tolman Motorsports McLaren 570S GT4, Charlie Fagg and Michael O'Brien. It will be Charlie Fagg who starts that car. McLaren's looking good this weekend. You can see they've got a 1-2-3 on the GT4 grid, because right behind him we have his teammate, the number 5 car, Lewis Proctor, will start the other Tolman Motorsport McLaren, and then we have the 72 Track Club McLaren started by Adam Ballon. So McLaren 1-2-3 within GT4, that seems to be the car to have, but that's over single lap pace. In a race situation, it's very often the case, isn't it, Charlie, that a car that is really quick in qualifying, maybe over the full 2-hour race stint, isn't quite as strong.
Yeah, and also having the consistency with the 2 drivers as well. You know, you've got to have that really good relationship between your pro or your AM to try and balance it out as well. But yeah, lots of differences with the cars. And here's the grid for you, Andy.
Yeah, here is the grid then. So it's the first of the drivers' names that will be in the car, I believe, to start the race. So it's John Minshaw in the Lamborghini Huracan alongside Flick Haig in the Aston Martin V12 Vantage. It's another Aston Martin next in line. That's Mark Farmer ahead of Sander Hahn in another one of the Lamborghinis. Then it's the Nissan, really good qualifying for Devon Medell in the Nissan GTR ahead of Sean Bolf in the McLaren. Then it's the first of the Bentleys, Ian Loggy, the first of the Team Park Racing Bentleys, and then a sea of Aston Martins with Andrew Howard in the Beach Dean car, then ninth on the grid, the number 47 Aston Martin of Graham Davidson, and rounding out the top 10 will be Derek Johnston, who will share that car with Marco Sorensen. Then, 11th on the grid is where we find our reigning champions. Rick Parfitt Jr. joined this year by Ryan Ratcliffe, and they've been struggling with all of the wet conditions that we've had so far this year. Then it will be Lee Mole in the final GT3 car. Then we have the GT4 field. As I said, it's Charlie Fagg ahead at the front of the field, ahead of Lewis Proctor, the top 2. Adam Ballon will be 3rd in the GT4 field, ahead of Patrick Mathieson in his Ginetta. Then 17th place on the grid, car number 62, which is Will Moore, ahead of Ben Green in the first of the BMW BMW M4s. Then 19th place on the grid, car number 66 is Nick Jones, with rounding out the top 20 there, Mackay in his McLaren 570S. That is Daniel Mackay. His brother Ewan is an equally rapid racer as well. Then 21st on the grid, car 501, Graham Johnson ahead of Quinn in the Toyota. Then it's number 54 Nissan ahead of the 56 McLaren. Toyota next in line again with Tom Canning in the 68 car ahead of Alexander Sherpen in his BMW M4 GT4. Calvin Fletcher, Emmerdale actor in car number 53 is next in line ahead of the number 77 machine of Mark Murfitt. And the back row of the grid for car number 44, that's Sean McCulley, and number 50, which is Mike Newbold in his Ginetta G55 GT4. Tell a lie, so there are a couple more rows on the grid. It is a massive field in 2018. Jaguar next in line, that's number 22 Jaguar ahead of number 61 Aston Martin, with Anna Valeska and the back of the grid. But we are about ready to go with 2 hours of racing. The first, touch wood, dry race of the year. Oh, already issues though for one of the Jaguars there.
Oh, 44.
Yeah, with a rotation on the green flag lap. That's Steve McCulley in the car. And
very embarrassing.
Yes, it's never a good start to your race, is it? That, but he's been able to rejoin, I believe, and retake his original grid position. But at the front of the grid, we have John Minshaw and Flick Haig on the front row. Row number 2 for Mark Farmer and Sam Dahan. And this is going to be a frantic run down towards turn 1, or turn 2 really, at the Dean Hairpin, where it really pinches down. Side-by-side rolling start as ever in British GT. The GT field just ahead of the GT4 cars. We are ready to go. Green flag, we're away and racing for 2 hours at Rockingham, and John Minshaw makes the best start from pole position. Flick Haig will slot into second, whilst the other of the Barwell Lamborghini, Sam Dahan, moves through into third place straight away on the rush down towards the Dean Hairpin. But up towards the braking zone, Flick Haig has a little look there at the inside of John Minshaw, not close enough to do it. Looks like the McLaren there of Sean Balfe has come through into 5th, ahead of Devon Modell in the Nissan. In GT4 ranks, side by side there between the two Tolman Motorsport McLarens. I think it was still the class pole sitter of Charlie Fagg that was able to hold on to the race lead. But crucially, all safely through the first few corners. There's no sense, is there, Charlie, in a 2-hour race in going beating and banging into the first corner and ruining your race before it even really starts.
Well, don't say that. We're only at turn 4 now, but I have seen GT races where they have all collided and thrown all of that time away.
Speaking of which,
that looks like just a spinner in one of the Mercedes.
Yeah, one of the GT4 Mercedes didn't quite catch the number on that one with a rotation. Look at the camera lens down at Tarzan there. I think it's starting to rain again as Sam Dahan is looking racy. Look at the inside of Flick Haig, into the back of Flick Haig actually. A bit of contact there between the Lamborghini and the Aston Martin. Yes, your fortune-telling abilities today have really impressed me, Charlie. Luckily, Flick Haig manages to keep control of the car and hold on to second place. There goes Andrew Howard. Look at the inside of Ian Loggy further back. So the Beach Dean Aston Martin starting to make ground, and in behind him, the other of the Aston Martins, that's Graham Davison in 47, who's made some good ground onto the tail of Ian Loggy as well. Across the start-finish line they go then. The lead margin for John Minshaw is only 0.6 of a second over Flick Haig in second, third for Sam Dahan, fourth place is Mark Farmer, fifth for Sean Balfe, sixth is Devon Modell, seventh for Andrew Howard. We just saw him make that move. In GT4, it is Charlie Fagg leading the way. It's Lewis Proctor in second. Patrick Mathieson have moved through into third place. So the Ginetta's already, Charlie, starting to make some progress and getting in amongst the quick McLarens.
Yeah, they will do, because just the distribution of the car, the weight with the engine in the front of the Ginetta, they can get more heat into the rear tyres. The weight distribution is better, especially in these conditions. So we've got the Bentleys that are going to struggle if it is starting to rain, because they've been whinging about the wet conditions all weekend. The McLaren will take a few laps to warm up and also struggles in these cold conditions. The McLaren really does struggle. By speaking to Rob Bell, who Jenny had on the grid earlier, he said that they've been struggling to get some heat into the tyres.
Yes, absolutely, and that will definitely be an issue for them with the very cold ambient temperatures. Oh, in the pit lane, unfortunately, it's car number 68. That is Tom Canning in the Stellar Performance Toyota. It's not been a stellar performance really for the team so far. Unfortunately, the car appears to have hit some mechanical dramas early on, but this is the battle for the race lead. John Minshaw is not escaping. Flick Haig and Sam Dahan staying right with him.
It's as if that little bit of rain has affected John Minshaw, because he was a little bit further ahead on the previous lap, but Haig definitely giving him a run for his money there. And yeah, the top three are starting to pull away a little bit, but definitely all under threat of each other.
Oh, Graham Davison and Ian Loggy very close to contact there into turn 1 as Davison was trying to make the move on the inside. But yeah, it's not really raining properly. It's what I like to call psychological rain. It's on the windscreen and it just distracts the drivers. And as the race leader, John Minshaw is the first one into every corner. He is the guinea pig. He's working out exactly how much grip there is. The cars behind can sort of gauge from him what the grip levels are like, and so in some ways it's a disadvantage to be the leader, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And it does seem just the camera angle maybe, but it just seemed a little bit brighter now than it did do on lap 1, where it just looked like there was a little tiny little drizzle of cloud that just came down that affected the drivers. But it'd be nice to see the lap times, so let's have a look at one of the lap times now. So we've got fastest lap is Dehaan, which is a 1 minute 19.88. It'd be interesting to see how those lap times decrease as the tyres get warmer. But Minshaw definitely had a better lap that time. He's pulled a good couple of car lengths.
Yeah, well, and this is what we said. We thought the Lamborghinis may struggle for a lap or so. They're now starting to come alive. Nice move up the inside being attempted here by one of the BMWs. That is the number 5 McLaren of Lewis Proctor that they're trying to get past. Lewis Proctor defending there from Ben Green, former Ginetta racer. Ben wasn't afraid to get his elbows out at Alton Park last time out either. Here comes a dive up the inside. Lovely switchback manoeuvre. The McLaren's going to try and turn in, but Ben Green holds his ground. No, it will still be Lewis Proctor who hangs on, and that is for 3rd place now within the GT4, because Patrick Mathieson has taken 2nd place away from him. So Patrick Mathieson in the Ginetta is really starting to make forward progress, which is good to see. Ben Green is now being caught by the first of the Aston Martins in GT4. That's car number 62, Will Moore, in the Academy Motorsport Aston Martin. And these 3 cars descend upon the Dean hairpin. Ben Green, for my money, looks a bit quicker here, just can't quite find a way through.
He's very good on the brakes. The 42 car of Ben Green in the BMW definitely looks a lot more sort of sharper on the brakes than the McLaren driver, yeah. So he's always had a good look, or a bit of a sniff up the inside of every single corner so far. He lost that a little bit just then, but he definitely looks better on the brakes.
Yeah, well, watch for that, maybe down into the Tarzan hairpin. That's the next big breaking point. At the head of the field, John Minshaw continues to pull away from what's developing into a nice 4-way scrap for 2nd place here. Flick Haig in the number 75 Aston Martin still has Sam Dehaan in the pink, white and black Lamborghini right on her tail, but starting to close in now is Mark Farmer in the blue Aston Martin and the red McLaren of Sean Ball, who is really bridging the gap now. Those two are both bridging the gap, in fact, to the 2nd and 3rd place cars. Devon Modell is still next in line in the Nissan, and there's a good battle just behind him between Mark Howard and Graham Davison. But as the 2nd and 3rd place cars descend upon the Dean hairpin, there goes Sean Ball from the inside, and he takes... there's a problem I think there for Mark Farmer. The Aston Martin never made the corner down at the Dean hairpin. He has pulled off, I think, out onto the banking. Yes, he's making no attempt to turn the car around. I think that's a mechanical issue there, Charlie.
Yes, it is. He would have easily been able to turn round, put it back into 1st or 2nd gear, done a bit of like a Sebastian Vettel, as it were, and spun it back round again, or a Verstappen, as it were, when they make a mistake in qualifying or warm-up. Oh, he's moving again now. He might have had to do a Control-Alt-Delete.
Well, yeah,
He's back. Okay, he's back running again.
The trouble is, he's nearly in a different county. He went that far down the escape road, so it's going to take him a little while to get back on track.
So he's now rejoined. We can see it out of the window of the commentary box. He's now rejoined, but he's now right in the midst and the middle of that GT4 pack, as it were. Yeah,
that's a shame for Mark Farmer, but he'll be one to watch for. This is the battle for the GT4 lead, though, heading up towards Gracelands for the 6th time of asking. It is still just about the number 4 McLaren of Charlie Fagg leading the way, but Patrick Mathieson has carved his way through the field. Looks to the outside in towards the Tarzan hairpin. Can't do it there, can he? He'll have better momentum off the corner. No, the McLaren hangs on. We saw a notification on the screen as well there that one of the Invictus Games Jaguars has been given a penalty. That's Steve McCulley for being out of position at the start. He, remember, was the driver that spun on the green flag lap. Presumably, he drove back up to his grid spot and was not allowed to maintain that position.
Well, if you haven't let the last car go past you, which I think he might have done, you're not allowed to do it. So if everyone was on your side to help you out and they let you get back in again, so he's obviously just gone, no, that's my grid slot, I'm having it back. You can't do that if you drop right to the very back. So yeah, a little bit of a naughty boy school thing, but never mind. He's had a quick drive through penalty, and there's the Aston Martin that we can see there out of a commentary box, the blue one, 44 car. No, not the 44 car. The one went straight on a Dean.
Mark Farmer in the 11 car.
Sorry, the 11 car.
Is one to watch for, I think, driving back up the order. You can also see out the window the Jaguar is in, serving its drive-through penalty. This, though, on the screen is the battle for 2nd place, and down at the inside goes Sean Ball. Oh, that was a late lunge up the inside of Sam Dehaan. Luckily, he backed out of it because Sam was already turning into the corner. Sam Dehaan has a much better exit from the final turn, though. Whoops, that's that's a spin for Mike Newbold in the number 50 HHC Motorsport Ginetta GT4. But this for second place, Flick Haig just about hanging on from Sam Dahan and the very racy looking McLaren of Sean Bolt. Well, Sean, you said might struggle for a little bit of front end grip, certainly not lacking at the moment. He looks the quicker of these three cars.
Yeah, he does. I've known Sean for many, many years. In fact, I actually bumped into him for the first time in years. We used to race the Marcuses together. We were at each other's throats pretty much most of the time, battling out for the championship. I'd like to add that I beat him, but a really very quick, very talented driver, done a lot in radicals, and now coming back into the GT racing in the McLaren. So yeah, nice guy.
Oh dear.
Don't tell me that's the one that's just done the drive-through.
I think that's the other one actually. Yeah, that's Ben Norfolk in the 22 car. But either way, it's really not been a good start to the race for the Jaguars, as the other car goes back past it, having served its drive-through penalty. That car is beached, I fear, in the grass, as we have side by side for second place in the traffic, and that was Sam Dahan around the outside of Flick Haig, down in towards the Tarzan hairpin. Always three abreast with the Ginetta stuck in the middle, and I think Sam Dahan just about hangs on.
And we've got rain on the camera, and we've got that Jaguar rejoined now. So that was on the exit of pit path. It's rejoined again, which is good because it was in a place that would have probably brought out a safety car.
Oh dear, the 44 car of Steve McCulley is now doing his best to get out of the way of the quicker GT3 cars. That was the worst possible point on the circuit, though, for them to catch a slower GT4 car. And Sean Bell spins out of the final corner. He's in the wall. Heavy damage to the McLaren. He got tangled up with one of the GT4 cars. I didn't quite catch which one, but Sean Ball is in the wall and out of the race.
Definitely a safety car.
Oh, what a shame, Charlie. He was doing so well, but that is how, in GT racing, with multiple classes on the track, it's so easy to get tangled up with a car from a different class.
Shame.
And unfortunately, Mark Farmer's found his favourite route off the track again down at the
so there was definitely rain on one of our camera angles. That where Sean Balfe is might even bring out a red flag. I don't know.
Change for second place. Sorry to cut across you there. Sam Dahan ahead of Flick Haig, so the Lamborghini finally goes through. But yes, we're watching the flag stands to see whether we get safety car or red flag. Certainly a safety car, you'd imagine, with that car beached up against the wall.
But it can't be moved very easily because it's got lots of damage. So I'll put money on it. Okay, safety car.
Yeah, safety car is out, so
but
unsurprising.
That might turn into be a red flag if they can't move the car quick enough.
Yeah,
because it's close enough to the exit of the pit lane.
Yeah,
so they can drag it across the track, but
yeah, we're going to see a replay here on the screen.
What a shame! What a shame!
So
here we go. Right, so we've got back marker number 44 that served his 10-second penalty, as it were, or drive through.
Oh!
Sean, that was.
Well, Sean will argue that the Jaguar moved down the track, and the Jaguar will argue that Sean moved up the track, and I think the simple fact is they met in the middle.
Yes, that's a tough one to call, really, to be honest with you, but if I was Sean, knowing that it was a 2-hour race, I'd have just gone past that car, sacrificed a couple of seconds, lost the scrap that I was having with my fellow GT3 teammates, as it were. Oh, that's a real shame as well. It was such a beautiful car and looked like really on the case then. What a shame, but that is in a really tricky position because it's heavily damaged with the right rear.
Yeah, they won't be able to tow that. They'll have to probably put that on a flatbed truck, and
which is why I think it might be a red flag. But we'll see.
They are very efficient, our Great British Marshals, and a shout out to them who they're stood out there in not the finest of weather today, and they're doing as good a professional a job as ever they do. Gives us a chance though to run down the order, I suppose, whilst we've got a moment of quiet. So John Minshaw leads the way from now his teammate Sam Dahan. So it's Barwell Motorsport 1-2, because remember, Sam Dahan found a way past Flick Haig just before the safety car was scrambled. So it's a Lamborghini 1-2, then it's the Aston Martin of Flick Haig there in third place. Devon Modell has inherited fourth in the Nissan GTR. It's been a while since we've seen a Nissan GTR at this end of the field, so that's good to see for Devon Modell in fourth. Fifth place for Graham Davison, former GT4 racer, and sixth for Andrew Howard. They swapped over just before the safety car came out as well. Seventh for Rick Parfitt Jr., who we haven't really mentioned in this race so far, son of legendary rocker Rick Parfitt, member of Status Quo, and he is the reigning champion, is Rick, but he won that championship last year with Seb Morris, who's got off to race in Europe. He's now been joined by Ryan Ratcliffe, who's been struggling a little, I think, to get to grips with the car, and they've not been helped by the fact it's been so wet at the start of the year. But that Bentley is slowly moving up. They're in 7th at the moment, ahead of Johnston in 8th, Ian Logie in 9th, and Lee Mole in the last of the GT3 cars that hasn't had any issues in 10th place.
Yeah, so let's go back to the Rick Parfitt side of things. So Rick is actually going to, so the safety car is driving farthest away from the incident, obviously, because they need to obviously think of safety. That's one very expensive McLaren bit of fiberglass that they're carrying there. will that go on the wall, or will they give that back to the team? What do you reckon? Will that go into their mantelpiece?
Yes, I don't think there's much use for it, is there now? It's rather crumpled, unfortunately. The rear wing's been snapped off, and there will be damage that we can't see there to the wheels and the suspension and whatnot, which is why they're going to struggle potentially to get it moved.
And Rob Bell, that was being interviewed, we'll come back to Rick Parfitt in a minute, so we'll hold that one for a minute. So Rob Bell was being interviewed, wasn't he, by Jenny? Oh, Jenny, that's what her name is. I think her name's Jenny, isn't it?
We'll go with that. She'll correct us if we're wrong.
Yeah. So, private gang. Well, she got my name wrong, didn't she, in the beginning? Bless her. So talking to Jenny earlier, Rob was saying he doesn't know what is going to happen with the weather conditions because they say that the McLaren isn't very good in the greasy conditions. He said, let's find out and see if we can get past the first 10 minutes.
Well, they are towing the car away.
They're literally towing that away. That's like proper NASCAR Rockingham style.
That is the definition of unceremonious, I think, that, isn't it? That is, there's a lot of damage.
Now we go. We've got a good shot on the side.
Yes, those wheels should be moving.
Let's just have a listen.
Yes, that's a lovely sound. That is not the sound that McLaren should be making, that's for sure, and that is not the sight that they wanted to see. That car out of the race for sure, and that will be a fairly substantial repair job to be done now ahead of the next round of the championship.
Well, yeah, I'm sure Rob Bell, his teammate, is probably in his car on the way home, nearly, I would have thought.
Yes, he will not be keen to stick around.
Yeah. It swings and roundabouts, that one, really. The Jaguar, I believe, is still going. So both Jaguars are still going, and that was quite eventful. They got quite a bit of TV coverage there because one of them went off onto the grass.
Yes.
One did a drive-through penalty, and also caused probably, I don't know, 40, 50 grand worth of damage, maybe, something like that.
Poor Steve McCulley has had quite the entertaining start to the race. So he spun on the green flag lap, retook his position, got a drive-through penalty for doing that, rejoined the track, and almost immediately collided with one of the lead GT3 cars. So Steve McCulley will probably not be on many people's Christmas cards lists.
And when he watches this back, isn't probably going to like us very much either, because he goes, you just slug me off.
Well, we're giving him plenty of TV time, that's for sure.
We're talking about you. We're talking about you.
The Invictus Games project that Jaguar team are involved with is a great cause, and Steve McCulley, fairly experienced racing driver these days, actually, is Steve. He's raced in multiple categories of racing, but this is a big step up, and there's an awful lot going on. The first 5 minutes of this race were very manic, actually, with the changing weather conditions, the whole field very, very closely bunched together, and it's not really surprising that one or two got caught out. Well, we've seen, unfortunately, the sorry state of the McLaren in the wall on the outside of the final corner. One man who will have not been best pleased to see that is Rob Bell, but Jenny is brave enough to go and have a chat with him.
Yes, I feel a little bit like I have been the commentator's curse for you. I spoke to you on the grid before this race began, and you said to me, yep, just get through the first 10 minutes and we'll be fine. Oh dear.
Yeah, we did have that chat, didn't we? Look, it was difficult out there for everyone. It's a slippery track, and it looked like it was pretty dry, but everyone's coming to terms with how much grip actually is there out there. So there's that to contend with, and I think Sean had got that into his head. So actually, for the first 3 laps, we looked good, we looked comfortable, and then a few GT4 cars seemed to be in the mix quite early on, and I think, to be honest, that's what's caught us out a little bit. Nothing to do with them on their part. They're there racing and absolutely did the right thing, but when you're battling with a group and you're feeling racing, looking good, you're kind of looking for that opportunity, and there was a GT4 within that mix, and I think it's caught Sean out a little bit. So unfortunately, that's our race done, and that is racing. That's the way it goes, and we'll be back for more next time.
Obviously, 1.5 points awarded today, so it's a big hit, isn't it, when it comes to the championship?
It was a big hit, absolutely. Look, at the end of the day, the next race we go to, we'll try and win it, and then we'll try and win the one after that and the one after that. So the point scenario is disappointing, but something we don't really focus on so early on in the season. We're just here to enjoy racing, trying to get to the end, and you know, we'll have focus for the rest of the season, so it won't deter anything that we do moving forward, I don't think.
It's a beautiful car, the McLaren 650S. It's going to come back with a fair bit of damage, I would expect. We're just waiting for it to come back into the pit lane now. Can you already work out what's been damage to it?
Not really, but you know, walls are hard and they don't move. So in a scenario like that, it looked like the rear lefts just hit the wall there, and what you find is it kind of knocks everything in. So when you look at it, it might not look too badly damaged, but actually a hit like that can be quite catastrophic, moving drive shaft, gearbox, etc. So, but luckily the Bell crew are fantastic, and it'll be sparkling again for the next round.
Good stuff. Thanks very much. I'm sorry.
All right, thank you.
Thanks very much, Jenny. Well, that's Flick Haig. Flick Haig is off from third position down at the Tarzan hairpin, straight back into the drama. In case you hadn't guessed, the race has restarted whilst we were chatting to Rob Bell down in the pit lane. And Flick Haig, in what I think are still slightly treacherous conditions, has thrown the car that won the first round at Alton Park last time out into the gravel track. Now, luckily, because the gravel is quite damp and compacted, she's been able to drag herself out of there, but she's now joins a group of GT3 cars that are quite some way back, all trying to work themselves back into contention. It's been a great restart for John Minshaw, though. He had a few GT4 cars between himself and his teammate Sam DeHaan, so after one lap of racing, Charlie, he's already 5.4 seconds on the road.
Yes, just watching that McLaren screaming its way past our commentary box, even with headset on, you can still hear it sounding absolutely stunning. Big old gap that he's got there already, so he's definitely got his head down. And wait till Phil Keane gets in that car in about 40 minutes time, no, 38 minutes time roughly, because that's when the pit window opens in about an hour's time. That's going to be awesome to see that car. But yes, I'm still confused at what is going on with the weather out there.
Yes.
But seeing people just randomly going off, I don't think it's as dry as we'd quite like it to be from a driver's point of view.
Yeah, and as we heard Rob Bell saying back on the grid earlier on, if it's fully wet, they can deal with that. If it's fully dry, they can deal with that. But the weather can't make its mind up, and so they arrive at each corner and there are different levels of grip, and that's what's catching people out. 42 BMW there, that's Ben Green, third place in GT4, trying to chase down Patrick Mathieson, who is still stuck behind Charlie Fagg. So it's still the same order in GT4, I believe, as they make their way down towards the braking zone. Yes, there is a blue and white Ginetta just in front of the GT4 leader, but that's a lap down. In the pit lane is another Ginetta, that's Anna Valeska, unfortunately, in the 34 car.
Talking to her earlier as well, actually, she said she changed teams from Century to Team Hard and was just getting used to the new team and getting familiar with it. But similar cars are what she's driven, so she's familiar with the car. But outbraking themselves there into the chicane. But look at that, Minshaw lead. Look, there we go. This is second place car now. That's a big old lead. That's a good, what? Yeah, so like you said, 6-7 seconds.
Oh, and Graham Davidson there in fourth place. He's the man on the move because he just did a lap time that was significantly quicker than Devon Modell in the Nissan in front. This is for third place. Modell in the Nissan, Davison in the white and orange. Aston Martin, who jigs to the inside. That is a brave place to make a move.
Very brave place, yeah.
Didn't work, but that full credit for trying.
Well, he's put the Nissan now on the back foot because he's pushed him wide. Aston Martin looks like David and Goliath, doesn't it? The Aston looks tiny and the Nissan looks huge. So he's done the inside, he's got the lunge done.
Yeah, they both ran wide.
And look, it's definitely raining. It's definitely raining at Tarzan. So at the bit of the track, which is the hairpin where they are now.
Yeah, and it catches Graham Davidson out, look, as he tried to get the power down, and so Devon Modell is back alongside. They've spent almost half a lap side by side.
Back on the inside, we got the Bentley there flashing their lights, saying, come on GT4s, get out of the way, but at the same time.
Well, yes, all of these cars are actually GT3 cars, aren't they? Because that's Rick Parfitt, who's buying right in now to the fight for what is essentially third place. So, Graham Davidson goes third, Devon Modell down to fourth in the Nissan, then the Beach Dean Aston Martin of Andrew Howard, and then Rick Parfitt Jr. This is far more like it for Rick, the reigning champion, as we said, former GT4 champion. In fact, he won that championship, partnering Stuart Ratcliffe, who's back with again now, and he's up the inside and going through.
That was a good move on the brakes there, well done Rick. He's actually off to Atlanta tonight, so as soon as he gets out of the race car, he's going to Atlanta to perform with one of my favourite artists, Rick Astley. The man that's come back again, Rick Astley. So he's performing with Rick Astley.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. He's a very busy man, he's Rick Parfitt Jr. He's a very good racing driver as well.
100 gigs a year he does. 100 gigs a year. God, he's mental.
And still finds the energy to strap himself into a GT car for endurance races, which takes some doing.
Wouldn't you not want to, driving that big beast around?
Yes, well, it's a unique car, isn't it, the Bentley? It certainly is a real fan favourite, and it looks beautiful. Each year they bring out a new livery for it, and each year it seems to look better and better. He's getting quicker and quicker as well, because having found a way past Andrew Howard, he is now challenging Devon Modell to try and get fourth place away. Also getting past Andrew Howard, incidentally, was Derek Johnston in the other Aston Martin.
Hold your nerve, don't be silly.
He was tempted.
He's much quicker than that, than the Nissan in front. Much quicker.
And of course, with a couple of the quick drivers and quick cars having difficulties earlier on, Rick senses a real chance to try and get some championship points away and kick-start their championship campaign. He will be praying that the rain stays away, because in the dry, that Bentley is one of the fastest cars in the field. Out towards turn one they go again. He continues to close in on Modell. This, though, is side by side, I believe, for the class-leading GT4. Patrick Mathieson very briefly up alongside Charlie Fagg, but Charlie, with the inside line down in towards the Brook chicane, is able to hang on. This is a battle that's been raging and raging since the start of the race, and the more they hold each other up, the closer the BMW of Ben Green is getting.
Oh, it's crazy, isn't it? Just seeing the battle scars of the Rockingham wall there with the red paint of the McLaren from Sean Bell, from Rob Bell. What an absolute disaster for them this weekend, but they seem very relaxed and chilled out. But they did say they did have a good Chinese last night. So they're good Chinese, but does that make up for everything? Probably not.
Well, it's not been a complete loss this weekend, at least. They've had something out of it. Not only the one McLaren in GT3, of course, which sadly is no longer part of the race. There are plenty of them in GT4, so at least McLaren fans will have something to shout about because their car is still leading in GT4. But Patrick Mathieson is quicker out of Yentwood there. Looks to the inside, looks to the outside into Chapman Curve. Sideways as he tries to go right around the outside. This could be a brilliant move if it works.
Not
but
quite.
no, the door was always going to shut in his face there. It's been a good defensive drive so far from Charlie Fagg, but how much longer can he keep the Ginetta behind?
Not much longer, I wouldn't have thought, because that Ginetta looks... so we had a bit of contact?
Yeah, I believe so. That will be Rick Parfitt Jr. with potentially the Aston Martin of Derek Johnson. We've heard making contact. That is David Patterson. Yeah, absolutely. And we've got a slow Mercedes as well.
Oh, it's all happening. It's all kicking off here at Rockingham.
Well, you know why? It started raining again, I think, over at that far side of the track, and that's where these various incidents are happening. The 56 car is beached.
Yeah, there it is. It's just on the exit of Chapman. Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
You can just see it at the commentary box. Yeah, just beached. So that will be might be a waved yellow at that area while they recover it, but it could be another safety car, which Minshaw is not going to want because he's just built up that massive lead. Here we go, replay. So up the inside, Ginetta goes up the inside, so there's contact, mate. Right, okay. So this was the battle we would... No, this is another battle between a Ginetta and a McLaren, and it's just because the grass is so wet, cars so light, straight into the gravel.
Yeah.
That is such a shame because they're nearly out of it. Do they go in reverse? Does he try and reverse out of the gravel? Once you start spinning those wheels, and it just buries the car even more. At least the gravel trap's doing its job.
Yes, exactly. It is there to stop the car. They could, I suppose, push the car out, potentially. It was Ben Wallace, by the way, that tagged him into a spin in the 88 Ginetta.
There'll probably be an inquiry about that, I would have thought.
Yes,
that was okay. It was an overtake, but it was somebody's misfortune for that place to have taken place. So I reckon there'll be a little bit of a slap wrist for that, or maybe a penalty.
Yeah, there'll certainly be a discussion about it, I think. This is a fantastic battle we're enjoying here, though, for fourth place overall. Devon Modell's got quite the queue forming behind him. We've got Bentley of Rick Parfitt Jr. right in his wheel tracks, having a go down towards the Dean Hairpin. Safety car.
I thought that was the battle going on, but there was another Ginetta, so yeah, forgive me.
There are too many McLarens and Ginettas getting themselves together, aren't there, in the field? This is for the GT4 lead, but unfortunately, this battle and all other battles are being put on ice because the safety car's out again. That's number 50.
That was another Ginetta.
It's another Ginetta, yes, and Mike Newbold this time, and that is on the exit of Gracelands, just there directly opposite us, so yes, he's well and truly beached. As a result of Ginettas and McLarens littering the Rockingham circuit, they are going to throw the safety car for the second time. So once again, the safety car makes an appearance on track. Now, you said this would be bad news for John Minshaw. It's doubly bad news because last time when the safety car came out, he had a few GT4 cars between himself and the rest of the pack. This time, there is not one, so they're all going to close right in. Yes,
they are going to close right in. So he's going to be, and there's nothing like virtual safety car that they have in Formula One. I think it's only Formula One they have virtual safety car, isn't it, really? So they all have to stay at the same level, whereas this safety car, if you're in the lead and you've built up that massive big cushion, you're just probably swearing now at your team on the pit radio going, oh, what's going on? Come on, why is nobody keeping it on the black stuff? And getting really frustrated. So, yeah, not good news for Minshaw and the Barwell team and Phil Keen's teammate,
Yeah, good news, though, potentially for Rick Parfitt Jr. here, because he's got pace. OK, he's not yet got past the Nissan, but this is going to bring him 15 seconds closer to the race leader than he was, and clearly the car has speed. Yeah,
definitely, and you can already see there the second place, the sort of the pink and black, sort of quite Larry liveried Lamborghini look is right up with Minshaw. It is the most soul-destroying thing when you see people off in a place that you know it's going to bring out a safety car. How frustrating. Look, well, the race now for us is back alive again.
Yes.
It just means that Minshaw's got to put his foot down and try a bit harder.
Yeah, we are still half an hour away from the pit stop window opening as well, by the way, so there's lots more racing to go before the pit starts start to occur to mix things up again. But one thing, thinking half an hour ahead of time, that we need to consider here is that the Barwell Motorsport car of Keane and Minshaw, they won the second race at Alton Park last time out, so they actually have to spend an extra 20 seconds in the pit lane. So this is not what they wanted. They wanted to build a gap so that 20 seconds didn't do quite as much damage to their race. That's not happening though. They've all caught back up again, and so unfortunately when he does make that pit stop, it's likely that 20-second penalty is going to send him right down the order. Well, one car we saw in strife earlier on in the pit lane, unfortunately, was one of the many GT4 Ginettas. It was the car that was being driven by Anna Vleska, and she is down in the pit lane.
Yes, Anna, a tough day, wasn't it, for you? And it's not been the weekend you would have hoped for on any level.
No, it's been a tough weekend, actually, from start to finish. Transformed the car this morning, basically. We went radical with our setup. We had nothing to lose. I didn't start where I wanted to start in qualifying, so I thought, OK, I know what I've got to do, pick the cars up. I've been here before 2 years ago, started from the back because of a mechanical failure in qualifying. We came through and we won the race, so I thought, it's OK, I can handle this. Car was great, transformed it with setup, and the pace was coming and times were coming down. And Aston came off just outside of Tarzan, load of gravel, and I think what's happened is a bit of gravel's gone through the radiator or something and engine just let go.
Not ideal, not what you want. And just try and describe what the conditions are like out there, because for us and the commentators watching, there seems to be some kind of really strange bits of tarmac out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's changeable weather. So yesterday we went from something which was like an ice rink. It was so slippy, the track just was never drying. Today it's been dry, but just before we went out to start the race, it started to drizzle. So we held the car for a long time. We thought, well, maybe go wets, we'll see. Everyone went slicks. We were slicks. And actually, that was the right call. Just started to drizzle again. So the track is changing constantly. And of course, it's catching a few people out. And your lines have got to change. You've got to adapt every lap, every corner to the conditions. And it's like that this weekend. It's gone from lovely weather last week to rain and greasiness this week.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it's gone back to winter from a lovely summer. So onwards and upwards, you look forward to round 4.
Yeah, let's get this weekend over and done with and do some testing and start again.
Okay, thanks very much, Anna.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jenny. Anna Vleska there saying that it was gravel from the Flick Haig Aston Martin as she went off on the restart, brought gravel onto the track, and it's done damage to the radiator. I mean, that is pure bad luck, isn't it?
Well, especially both ladies, in theory, not helping each other out,
Yes.
in a way, really, so they stitched each other up.
Yes, they did.
A shame, a real shame.
It
actually.
is. So, shall I have another stab at giving you the race order? Because every time I try and do it, something changes. There it is on the screen. It is John Minshaw leading the way. Sam Dahan is second, still a Barwell Motorsport 1-2. Graham Davidson is now third in the Aston Martin, ahead of Devon Modell in the Nissan. Rick Parfitt Jr. in the Bentley is in fifth. And you can see on the screen there, it really is quite damp and miserable down at Tarzan Hairpin, isn't it? And sixth place for Derek Johnston. Andrew Howard is seventh. Ian Loggy is eighth. Flick Haig is still ninth, and this has really helped her to close back in after that gravelly moment. Rounding out the top 10 is Lee Mould. Charlie Fagg still leads in GT4 in the McLaren, ahead of Patrick Mathieson in the Ginetta, and the BMW of Ben Green in third. The safety car, though, is back in the pit lane. John Minshaw, for the second time of asking, is now bunching the whole field up and floors the throttle, but this time, look how much closer his teammate Sam Dahan has been able to keep up. So as they make their way out onto the pit straight once more, the number 69 Lamborghini is able to stay right in touch with his teammate, but at the inside of Devon Modell is going Rick Parfitt Jr. Rick Parfitt was really on his toes for the restart, has gone through, but back on the inside comes the Nissan, side by side again in towards the Tarzan Hairpin. Nissan on the inside, Bentley on the outside, and don't touch each other, boys. They just about keep it clean, but Devon Modell goes back through, and that brings Derek Johnston back into play. Remember, Derek's twice been off the road down at the Dean Hairpin. He's just moved himself around the outside of Rick Parfitt Jr. and up into fifth place. Bit of contact, one of the winglets on the front of the Bentley goes flying, but unfortunately for Rick, that was a chance to gain a position that's actually ended up turning into a loss of position. Those that big group of cars, they're starting to fall up again, aren't they, behind Devon Modell, so it's only a matter of time before we see a bit more shuffling around, I think, as the leaders make their way back down towards the Tarzan Hairpin. Lamborghini from Aston Martin, the top three, and still John Minshaw continues to hold off his teammate Sam Dahan. We've had a notification on the timing screen, by the way, that contact between cars 88 and 56 will be investigated after the race. Well, we'll talk about that in a moment, but 88 is Ben Wallace, and of course 56 Dave Patterson, the man that he tipped into a spin. Another change there, Mark Farmer side by side with Rick Parfitt Jr. briefly. Rick, though, unable to regain the position. Rick finds himself now in a sea of Aston Martins. He's got one in front of him and two behind him, when really he'd quite like to get past the whole lot of them and try and start chasing down after the leading trio. Back through the first corner they go. And Andrew Howard now starts to look racy as he tries to get up the inside of Derek Johnston. But this is all getting rather congested in the fight for 4th place. All up the inside, little look there for Derek Johnston to get past Devon Modell, but can't quite make this one stick. Johnston, yes, the timing screen has now updated. There we go. Derek Johnston.
That's the blue Aston that was out of sync earlier, wasn't it? Because it went on at the bank corner. So
the timing screen still isn't quite right there because he was ahead of Parfitt at the line, but the timing screen reckons he wasn't. But there's clearly a bit of water in the system, maybe. So, Charlie, we've now got this.
As people are going, oh, big slide there from the Lamborghini in 2nd place. We like that. Bit of action, a bit like Rockingham.
Yes, indeed. He'd be well at home in these conditions, wouldn't he?
Yes.
The Iceman. Here's the GT4 lead battle. Charlie Fagg and Patrick Mathieson. Oh no! Rick Parfitt Jr. has spun. Where is that exit of exit of Tarzan? It's the exit of Tarzan hairpin, and yes,
he's right in the middle of the track. Right in the middle of the track.
And here comes the flood of GT4 cars trying to make their way round him. Please, no one hit him.
Rick being the celeb that he is, when he gets grumpy, he gets grumpy. I know him well, he's a good friend of mine, but I tell you what, he's not going to be happy. He was doing so well.
Yeah.
Rick, why did you do it?
Dear, well,
he's going to be kicking himself.
We don't know whether it was self-inflicted. Let's find out. The answer is going to be...
He was all on his own.
No, I'm
Yeah.
not sure. That was close, wasn't it, between he and the Aston Martin behind?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well, I'll go with you.
Maybe watch another replay.
So,
we can see another replay at some point. We'll see. But
they were close. They were close. That's for sure. But there's no damage done. But the damage has been done to his race because he's now found himself all the way down the order in 25th position for the reigning champion.
His last lap time was a 1:18.8. So let's have a look. He was only 2/10 off the fastest lap. So let's see if red mist makes him go any faster. So let's keep an eye out for 1:18.8. Let's see if Rick, now on his own, can improve on his lap times and really charge to try and get some of that momentum back.
GT4 battle here, Charlie, really starting to rage on as Patrick Mathieson is getting a bit frustrated, I think, now, because he's been sat behind Charlie Fagg for the better part now of 40 minutes and not been able to find a way through.
No.
And to add to his misery, the BMW behind him, Ben Green, is growing larger and larger in his mirrors, so that's really giving him the hurry up to try and get this move made.
And who's been very, very good on the brakes. It's quite crazy, isn't it? Just seeing like at one of the M4s, for example, with the low McLarens and the Ginettas, it's quite weird. And then you see the Bentley, it looks like an Arctic truck. You know, it's really weird seeing the different heights of cars from a handling point of view.
It shows, I suppose, doesn't it, that the balance of performance is working quite well, because you have all these different shapes and sizes of cars, front engine, mid engine, you know, different engine capacities as well.
Yeah.
But the balance of performance means that they're all actually remarkably evenly matched. I know the drivers like to whinge about the balance of performance, but when this is the racing that it produces, I don't mind.
Us drivers, we don't whinge. Drivers don't whinge. What are you on about? What are you on about?
What was I thinking?
Contact. Definite contact there between the Aston and the Skyline GTR.
Yeah, Derek Johnston into the back of Devon Modell. That was up at Chapman Curve. I think they got away without any damage, and still the big Nissan is fending off these three Aston Martins, because Flick Haig now in the number 75 car has closed in.
Clawing away back again. So you got the Beach Dean 99 Aston Martin.
Yes.
Oh, what's that? What was that coming out the back of the... It was either spray fluid or something was coming out the back of the Nissan.
Well, keep an eye on that then.
Let's keep an eye on that. I'm normally pretty good with my Hawkeye, to be honest with you, but there was definitely something coming out the back of the Nissan on the right rear, so the side nearest to us now.
That is the corner that he just got a wallop from the Aston Martin from, so I wonder whether maybe there's a bit of bodywork rubbing on a tyre or something. It certainly doesn't seem to be an issue now,
let's
as
have a
he
look.
heads
We'll keep
onto
an eye
the
on
pit
that.
straight, but that Aston Martin behind him with Derek Johnston is getting very anxious to find a way through. We've got Derek Johnston in the black Aston Martin. The Beach Dean Aston Martin is Andrew Howard, former champion himself, of course, and then Flick Haig in the other Aston Martin in behind, car number 75.
Look at this, look at that. It's like the Ginetta GT4 race earlier.
It is, with throw a Bentley Continental GT3 into the mix.
He likes flashing his lights, doesn't he?
Yes, he's got
We're
that.
We're going to call him Rick the Flasher.
Well, yes, he certainly is pushing on to find a way past these GT4 cars. He really just needs to get past these cars as quickly as possible and then concentrate on racing against the cars in his own class. But for Rick Parfitt Jr., is that red mist descending? Well, he's gained several places. He's into 17th place again now, but he's not passing cars within his own class. So unless he starts overtaking GT3 cars, he's not gaining any more points.
Yeah.
battle going on here. That's the 72 McLaren. That is being driven by Adam Ballon, trying to get up the inside of one of the new for 2018 AMG Mercedes GT4 cars. That one is the 66 version. Nick Jones at the wheel, and also buying into the fun now, the 61 Aston Martin of Tom Wood, and he goes past. So too does one of the McLarens. That's Graham Johnson in the 501 McLaren, and we've got a Nissan in there too, so it's not been a particularly good lap list for the Mercedes. Several other GT4 cars finding a way through, and I think now has managed to find its place in line and stem the flood, but it's all very busy in GT4, isn't it?
The number 11 car of Farmer is the fastest person on track with a 19.4 at the moment. Hasn't done the fastest lap of the race, obviously because of the conditions, and the tyres are maybe now getting hot. The pressures have changed within the tyre.
Change for
position.
Fourth position. That's Derek Johnston going past Evan Modell. However, Derek Johnston is under investigation for contact with Rick Parfitt Jr. So there must have been the slightest of touches to rotate that Bentley.
Because I didn't think there was. I didn't think there was contact personally, but.
Well,
hey.
the stewards can look at several angles, of course, that we don't get to see. So
I don't argue with stewards. They're right. They're right. We're in a separate room to them.
Yes, indeed, indeed. But there we go. So there must have been contact, and that will be investigated post-race. So we won't see any penalties applied during the race, but there may be a discussion that takes place at the end of the race.
Yeah, but Farmer is definitely the fastest person on track at the moment with a 19.4.
Oh, the Mercedes off. Sorry to cut across you again there, Charlie.
Yeah.
Which one's that down at
That's
the...
a GT4 car.
Yes.
It's the pink windscreen, so just to let you know if you didn't know that, the pink windscreens and numbers are the GT4 cars, the yellow windscreen stickered cars are the GT3 cars.
I'm going to have a stab in the dark and say that was Mark Murphy.
It was a Fox Motorsport car, I reckon. Am I right?
Let's have a look. Yes, 77, I think that was, which was the Mercedes of Mark Murphy. There it's 75, out onto the pit straight, and that is Flick Haig. But down in the pit lane, I believe that Jenny has found someone else to talk to. This time she's with Johnny Adam.
Yes, I am, and a difficult watch, isn't it, when you can see a car going off in a big spin, but Flick's doing the best job she can to try and bring it back.
Yeah, I think somebody dropped oil, maybe Janetta Tarzan hairpin. Unfortunately, she was on the case and obviously, unfortunately, caught that and went off. But her pace looks better now, for sure. She's back in the pack, and there's a few in front that have got a pit stop penalty. So all to play for. We just, if we can get sort of a bit further up and get some points, we've done a good job today.
Yeah, these pit stop penalties, opposite success penalties, are they something that you kind of look at and think, okay, well, we've got something here, a little advantage up our sleeve now?
Yeah, a little bit, but obviously the Lamborghini in front is very fast, and they've got obviously a little bit of a gap for us, for example. But yeah, no, we'll see. Anything can happen. You saw there's a couple of safety cars already, and yeah, we'll just have to get to the end and see what she does. But yeah, she seems to be back with confidence now and back on the pack, so that's good.
These are very mixed conditions, aren't they? A lot of the drivers I've spoken to saying that you just don't know what you're going to get each lap, and that makes it really tough for you guys.
It does. It's been hanging in the air, the moisture, and it's a bit drier now, a bit warmer as well, so it's hopefully going to improve throughout the race. But I mean, this is like the first race we've had this year. The weather's kind of followed British GT, the wet weather anyway. But yeah, fingers crossed that we dry for the rest.
Yeah, it's almost balmy, isn't it? Thanks very much, Johnny.
Spin again on track for another Mercedes. This time it's the 66 car of Nick Jones, and he has rotated, I think, on the exit of Yentwood, and we again have this situation of a car pointing the wrong way in the middle of the track. Battling going on here. That is 42 and 5. Now this is for position 5 within GT4. This is Lewis Proctor in the McLaren, with Ben Green in the BMW right behind him, and Kelvin Fletcher in the Nissan, having a really good race here. He is running within the Pro-Am element of GT4, of course, but he's right up there now, fighting for a top 6 position within class. So that is really impressive stuff, that, from Kevin.
And it's the first time from Kelvin, yeah, and he's the first time that he's actually driven a car continuously. And another bit of... This is a 2-hour endurance race, guys. Come on, those front splitters are worth quite a lot of money. They don't seem to care, do they?
No.
Kelvin's off to LA after this race, he's got a new film out on Netflix, I think it is, so we need to keep an eye out on that. And it's the first time, actually, that he's ever raced the same car for 2 years running. So he's very relaxed and comfortable in the car. He just jumped up and down, shook me by the hand, and said he just needs to find more pace.
Right.
So I gave him my card for a bit of tuition.
Of course, you did. Nice little plug for yourself there, Charlie. Yes, he is doing really well, actually. Former British touring car racing, racing in minis as well from time to time. Here for second place, though, we are side by side and up the inside. David Snodsanderhan, who thought about closing the door, then realised that was not probably the most sensible option, and so through into second place goes the Aston Martin. him. Sam Dehan tries to draw back alongside it again, but can't quite do it. The Aston Martin we can see behind the blue car, that is the car that is one lap down, so we can sort of take that one out of the equation, but keen to get its lap back, and it's not that far behind the race leader.
No, he's not. That blue Aston, I tell you what, it's on a right mission.
Yeah, absolutely. So he has another little look at the inside there, did Sam Dehan, trying to retake second place, but I think that Graham Davidson will probably have the pace now to start pulling away. He is only about a second and a half off the race lead as well, so this will be one to watch now, whether Graham Davidson can catch John Minshaw and maybe overhaul him. Whoops!
Breaks himself a little bit, just escaped the gravel there, very lucky.
Yeah, that was Mark Farmer. Mark Farmer trying to get this lap back, and he went up the inside of Sam Dehan there, but couldn't quite stop the car, so where is he now, Farmer? In the timing screen. Still one of the quickest on track.
Yeah.
Sorry again to
no, don't worry about it.
It's all going on, isn't it? Kelvin Fletcher,
Kelvin, keep your foot in there.
To the back of Lewis Proctor there in the McLaren, but sensibly there, Kelvin, he realised that he'd made contact with the car in front. He lifted off so as not to gain an advantage. Heads up driving there, because if he'd made the move stick there, that would probably have earned him a penalty.
It would have been, definitely ended in contact as well.
Yeah, now this is the battle for the GT4 lead. The battle has been raging on since the start of the race. Patrick Matisse, what does he have to do to find a way past Charlie Fagg in towards the Tarzan hairpin? He looks to the outside line, trying to get the late apex and the momentum.
The McLaren went sideways there, couldn't get the power down quick enough, but he's on the wrong side for the chicane.
Yeah, didn't quite have enough impetus to draw fully alongside, and even if he had, as you quite rightly say, Charlie, it would have been the outside line into the chicane. There's no doubt in my mind that on his own, in clear track, Matisse would be quicker. He just cannot prise the door open. He's been a great drive from Charlie Fagg, who is doing nothing wrong. He's perfectly entitled to defend his position, but Patrick will be getting more and more frustrated sat in that car, wondering, what do I have to do to get through?
Yeah, no, he will definitely be getting frustrated, but they'll be talking to the team. They'll know that they've got a better, better tyre in the second run because they haven't used any in qualifying, for example. They must have something up their sleeve because he's not being too agitated. The fact that he's making contact, because obviously that'll end up in a clerk of the course situation or a penalty. But yeah, he would be very frustrated, and that McLaren driver that's leading is going to be just going, come on, just give me a break, give me a break. I'm getting really tired here.
Yes,
with another 13 minutes to go before the pit window opens, so another 13 minutes to go before we start to see some pit action, and we'll start talking about fueling and tyres very shortly.
Yes, now what's been happening whilst we've been focusing on the battles in GT4 is that Graham Davidson has almost caught the race leader on that previous lap. He was a whopping 7/10 of a lap quicker, a second quicker than John Minshaw. The gap is down to 1 second for the race lead, so Graham Davidson is doing a really good job. Look, there they are. They're separated by the GT4 Toyota, which stays dutifully out of the way. As well he should, because Graham Davidson is on a mission and he's coming through whether you like it or not, and that's the attitude that he's going to have when he latches himself onto the tail of the lead Lamborghini. I think Graham will want to get on with this and pull through into the lead, hopefully pull out a bit of a lead before the pit stops. Let's see, down towards the hairpin he goes, not really quite close enough to have a go just yet. He's left Sam Dehan behind though, hasn't he? So Graham Davidson, right now I'd say one of the fastest cars on the track.
Yeah, and Sam Dehan as well, just doing a very, very sterling job. Very new to motorsport, only in his first real season in racing, and doing a really, really good job. Just they pretty much bypassed all of the licensing situation and just crash coursed him through to get his ARDS license and his race license, and he's doing a great job, and the team are very, very happy with him.
Almost identical lap times that time for the leaders. 6 1,000 for the second slower.
21.7, yeah.
Patrick Matisse still can't find a way through. And to add to Charlie Fagg's issues, he's now got another McLaren joining in on the scene, because with the third place in GT4 has come Dan Mackay, and Dan is closing in very quickly on these two. We'll see there in the background the blue McLaren. That car is third in class, so Patrick Matisse really could do with getting this move made as quickly as possible, and before the other McLaren arrives on the scene. That McLaren is car number 10, Dan Mackay, former Porsche racer, and look, he's right with Matisse now, flashing the headlights as they make their way in towards the Brook chicane. The yellow headlights on the GT4 cars, the white headlights on the GT3s. That's how you can tell the two apart.
This is the breathing space that the McLaren wanted. So Ginetta now under threat from McLaren. He's now going to start to have to defend from the number 10 car, who's caught him. And that's now going to give the lead McLaren a little bit more breathing space.
Yeah, that's the theory. Anyway, it certainly seems to be working. Look, because you can see that Charlie Fagg's actually built out by far the most comfortable lead that he's had for quite some time. Back to the outside looks the number 10 car of Dan Mackay into the Dean Hairpin. Nothing doing on this occasion though. 10 minutes away from the pit lane window opening. The lead gap overall, I can tell you, is now settled at about 1 second. So Graham Davidson has got to 1 second behind John Minshaw. Can't really seem to close that last little bit. But in GT4, Patrick Matisse, well, a few corners ago, he was probably a second or so behind the McLaren. Through the technical infield section, that's where the Ginetta really seems to shine.
Yeah.
He's latched right back onto the tail of the class leader.
And the lap times are looking like a good 4 seconds slower than the first few laps, really, because remember, they were on new tyres, they were on new slick tyres. A new tyre performs really, really well for its first 3 laps of its lifetime, basically. Then it slowly peters off. And might I add as well, it's a new tyre for the GT3 class this year, so it's a brand new tyre, which is it's not a new compound, it hasn't changed, but it's just the structure of the tyre has changed slightly, which gives the sort of the lesser, more gentleman driver more feeling in the car, but they don't know if it's any quicker on lap times yet. So Mark Lemmer has basically said that the tyre has changed from a construction point of view, just to give the viewers and you guys at home a bit more information on the tyres.
Yes, there's some real science involved in making racing tyres, particularly for GT races, because they have to make tyres that are quick, that are easy to use, but that are capable of lasting a long time. This is the fight for the race lead, and in traffic, Graham Davidson has now been able to get a lot closer to the back of John Minshaw's Demon Tweaks out of Lamborghini, and as they streak across the line this time, 0.3 of a second is the margin between them. Davidson's going to be close enough here down towards the Dean Hairpin. Down we go. He's up the inside lines to come out of turn number 1, and Aston Martin could be about to go to the race lead.
He's not going to do it. No, Minshaw's just cut the nose off the Aston there.
Yeah, just about, but that was the Lamborghini good on the brakes, the Aston Martin better in a straight line, but that's what the balance of performance does over the course of a lap. There's really nothing to choose between pace, but how is Davidson going to make this move stick?
Where's Davidson come from all of a sudden? I've just been making some notes while we've been talking, and all of a sudden Davidson's now challenging for the lead. I thought Minshaw was out on his own a few minutes ago. It's a 2-hour race, but boy, does this not feel like a sprint.
Yes. Well, that's what modern day GT racing has become, because the cars are now so reliable. That's taken an element of that endurance out of the racing, and it's made it much more sprint race-like. Great news for us, because it's non-stop action. Back out of Gracelands they go, and a quick glimpse there of the GT4 class lead battle, which has not yet changed, but you sense that something could change at any moment. Likewise with the overall race lead, as John Minshaw takes a much wider line out of the Tarzan hairpin. That gives him more momentum though onto the next straight, which means that Davidson's not close enough to attack into the chicane.
And interesting enough to know, last lap time for the leader was a 1:22.5. Last lap for number 2, the second place car, which you were looking at now, was a 1:21.7. So a lot quicker on that lap, but I don't think it's going to be any quicker this lap, because they've both fallen over each other really. There you go. So as I've said, 21.9 for the leader and a 22.3 for the second place man. So Minshaw basically, I think, is a little bit of a G-up. He would have had Robin Liddell, who's the new team boss for Barwell Motorsport, a very good friend of mine, raced back in the day in Vauxhall Junior from the ex Jim Russell School grounding, went to America and been very, very successful in America. So Barwell, Mark Lemmer stepping down from team boss really, and just sort of looking after sponsors and contacts and team drivers. Robin Liddell doing a very good job there to keep that team up the front of the grid, but he would have definitely had a few words, I would have said, on the pit radio to give Minshaw a bit of a G-up, like a hot stick.
Yes, well, has it worked? We'll have to wait and see. The gap's certainly coming down again on this lap.
This is brilliant. This is so frustrating.
Yes.
All 3 of them tied together. You could put a sheet over them all.
Yeah, you could put a pocket handkerchief
after
over them,
1 hour,
couldn't you? Yeah, this
6
is
minutes
remarkable
left.
stuff. 6 minutes before the pit lane window opens. Quite right there, Charlie. And still, these 3 cars are tied together by a very short piece of string. Charlie Fagger, remind you, still leads in GT4. That's the McLaren at the head of this group. Then you've got the Ginetta, the blue and white car of Patrick Matisse in second place, car number 55, and then car number 10 is Dan Mackay, third in class. The top 3 in GT4 covered by less than a second. We've got a Jaguar in the barriers there. It's Ben Norfolk again, down at the Dean Hairpin, that is, car number 22.
They're getting loads of coverage, aren't they?
Yes, we've seen an awful lot of these Jaguars, and unfortunately...
That looks like it's just kissed the tyre. Well, it doesn't look like it's gone in... Well, okay, I didn't see the pace that it went in, but it doesn't look like it's dislodged the tyres too much. We might get to see a replay, I don't know, but he's been pushed back by the marshals. He's reversing back at the window that we're looking out of now. I know we're not seeing it on the screen, but we'll keep you posted. we'll let you know when he gets going again.
Yeah, double waved yellows at the moment at that part of the circuit, so no overtaking is the theory. Looking out of the window, I can see that not everyone is taking full notice of that rule, but there we go. GT4 battle makes its way back through Gracelands. And Mathieson, he's never more than a car length or so behind the McLaren, but into all of the key braking areas, it just looks as though Charlie Fagg has enough in hand to hold on to the race lead. Now, look at this, we've got the number 11 Aston Martin, remember, trying to get its lap back. That's Mark Farmer. He's now with the race leaders. How does this affect the lead battle? How much does he really want to get involved in this?
Well, how much do they want to let him get involved in it? Do they want him to unlap himself? Yes.
Oh, that was not.
You don't want to unlap yourself and then take the leaders out, do you?
Oh my goodness.
This is brilliant.
Mark
this is
Farmer,
priceless.
in trying to get past Graham Davidson, locked up and very nearly T-boned the race leader into the final corner. But look what that's done for the lead gap. It's shot out now to a 2.5 seconds because Graham Davidson, 1 minute he's focusing on trying to take the race lead away, the next he's got a blue Aston Martin charging down the inside and nearly wiping the pair of them out. Drive-through penalty.
Number 4.
For number 17 in 4th place. That is Johnston, isn't it? Derek Johnston in 4th position.
That would have been from the contact with...
Yes, with Rick Parford Jr. Now, we were told that was being investigated after the race, but clearly the stewards have looked at it again and realised, no, there's definitely some fault there, so they've given him a drive-through penalty. So the car that's in 4th position will have to make a drive-through penalty, and they can't do that as their mandatory pit stop. There has to be a completely separate journey into the pit lane, and that is going to really affect their race. But with the frequency of which we've had safety cars today, there's every chance they might get the chance to close back in. The Jaguar I can see out of the window is slowly recovering itself back onto the track.
Going backwards though, it's not going forwards though, is it? So, but he's taking a long time to get going, so...
Yeah, it's been there for a couple of laps.
And that is, if he stays there and he can't get the car going again, will cause another safety car, but it has moved, so the marshals are now running back to that car again. Right, back to the important stuff. So
yes, this is the...
So the blue 11 car needs to unlap himself.
Yes.
So that's Farmer, right?
Yes,
so
preferably without wiping out the race leaders, though.
Yes.
That would be a bonus.
Another drive-through penalty for somebody. We can't see who it is.
I think that's probably the notice board for the number 17 car, just being reiterated. It's on the target screen, so the team can radio in and notify the driver, but sometimes if the radio isn't working for whatever reason, they'll opt to do that with a board. Indeed, in he comes, so I can see out of the window that drive-through is taking place. Back with the race leader, though, and John Minshaw, who set that fastest lap back on lap 4. We're now on lap 39, would you believe? 3 minutes away from the pit lane window, so it is now time to start thinking about pit stops and how this is going to start to unfold.
So he's now passed. So number 11, the Farmer car has passed the second place span, so he's nearly unlapped himself, so he just needs to pass the Lamborghini, then he's unlapped himself, and that pace of that blue Aston Martin looks like he's on fire. That's pretty quick. He's just done that's another move. So passing some GT4s there, coming into Graceland.
That is the class lead GT4 battle, and I think that's finally allowed Patrick Mathieson through. So after all that trying,
he's through,
Patrick Mathieson used it. Now that we always talk, don't we, about how the quicker cars coming through it can affect their race. It affects the GT4 race as well, and that was a perfect use of that for Mathieson to take the class lead away. And in fact, down to 3rd has gone Charlie Fagg. So is there some sort of a problem for the McLaren, I wonder? Because we've seen Dan Mackay go through now into 2nd position. They're all carrying on, none of them coming into the pit lane, but 2 places lost and a significant lack of pace, I'd say.
It did look pretty slow coming out of the chicane there. I just think wrong place, wrong time. I think picked up the blue flags, did exactly what they should have done, and it's just changed really. I just think, let's hope he hasn't got a problem, because he's done a great job defending. 2 minutes remaining. 2 minutes remaining before we can start to see some pit stops.
Yes, so the point I was about to make before something else happened, which has been what's been happening all race so long, we are about to come into this pit lane window. We've already mentioned that the race leading car has a 20-second time penalty because it won the last race at Alton Park. The way it works in British GT is that if you win a race, then at the next race you get time penalties added onto your pit stop. So it's 20 seconds if you win, then it's 15 seconds for a 2nd place finisher. So this time around, the 15-second penalty has gone the way of the number 17 Aston Martin. Not good news, considering it's just served a drive-through penalty, and the 10 seconds added on to the number 11 car. So that's also significant, because the car that's trying to get back on the lead lap, has got an extra 10-second time penalty within its pit stop. So there could yet be some shuffling about to go on, but I reckon that within the next minute or so, we're going to start seeing the cars come into the pit lane, because the teams will be keen to get the pro driver in as soon as possible.
Okay, so pro drivers are going to be getting in the cars in a minute. Just to let you know what goes on in the pit stop. So we've got tyre changes that happen, driver has to be out, then the car gets refueled, driver gets in while the tyres are being replaced. So you've got Tolman, the team that are running 3 of the young junior program McLarens, have got 2 fueling rigs. Cars with all the other teams are only allowed 1 fueling rig. So a 2-car team, for example, will have to queue up and bunch up, and it doesn't quite work as well. They have to do a stack system, for example, but a team with 3 cars are at a slight advantage, and we're seeing all of the pit crew now getting ready as they line up in the pits. The Jaguar, by the way, that went off at the hairpin is still parked up there, so it may cause a safety car, or it may have to be dragged out the way.
Yes, or they may have decided that it's still is not in a dangerous position anymore. I must correct myself, by the way. I know I said that I thought Patrick Matthiessen had got past Charlie Fagg for the class lead. It was the identically liveried McLaren that he was going past, and since it was just out of shot, I didn't quite spot it as the other one. So Charlie Fagg is still leading GT4, but by less than a second still, over Patrick Matthiessen and Dan Mackay, 2nd and 3rd respectively. So this number 11 Aston Martin, being driven still by Mark Farmer at the moment, is right behind the race leader, but the pit lane window has opened. So is John Minshaw about to dive into the pit lane? Yes, he does.
He is.
So Phil Keane will be ready and waiting to take over the race leading car. This is crucial. Remember, there is a minimum pit stop time of 120 seconds, so he'll be in here for 2 minutes anyway. All of the GT3 cars have to spend 2 minutes in the pit lane. Add on that 20 seconds for the Lamborghini. So in it comes. Phil Keane rushes over to help undo the seat belts there. Driver changes in sports car racing, Charlie. Not often the most graceful of procedures, are they?
It used to be years ago when I did GTs, it used to be how quick you could do it. You had to do it as quickly as possible, but then that caused problems with, you know, incidents and things that happen and people get hurt. So now it is a 2-minute window, as it were, but you get the penalties if you win. So that Lamborghini's got a 20-second extra penalty, as it were, for winning at Oulton Park.
Interestingly, Sam Dahan has not chosen to come in, and that's back to your point, isn't it? That the Barwell Motorsport squad, with only the 1 fueling rig, they can't bring both of their cars in on the same lap. So Sam Dahan, as the number 2 driver, if you like, because he was running behind in the race, he has to wait another lap. So that's 1 extra lap that they'll have the AM driver in the car, whilst everyone else is plugging in their really quick pro drivers. So that could make a difference come the end of the pit window.
And perfect example, we're looking now at the teams. If you're with a team that's being pit stopped right in front of you, you sometimes, because race cars haven't got a massive steering lock either, so they can't get out of their parking bay as best they can, so they can't actually manoeuvre quick enough to get out. So Phil's moved forward a little bit to give him chance to get into his box, because you also get a penalty if you don't park in the right box, because then you're interfering with someone else's team, and it's not fair. It's sort of, that's my space, that's your space, you know. It's a bit like that. It's
yes.
a bit like child's play sort of thing, but they get penalised.
Yes.
Because that is a very fraught area right now. There's a lot of heat, there's a lot of danger, a lot of noise, and the mechanics have been stood there freezing cold watching the TV screens. Now they've got literally 2 minutes to work their magic.
So what's happened there, we can see just behind now, Sam Dahan has come in.
Yeah.
That's why they were moving the Demon Tweets car out of the way, so that Sam can pull in behind and get his refuelling done a lap later. So
and
that's
their teammates.
Teamwork. Yes, exactly. So they're both in the same team, but they can't both refuel at the same time.
Look
right, out goes Phil Keane.
That's an expensive bit of concrete.
It is, isn't it? Yes, there's some delectable cars there. But back out, first of all, has gone the Aston Martin, hasn't it? So the Aston Martin will hold on to the race lead. This is when John Minshaw came in. Now,
so he's come into the wrong bit. So so he's come in. Phil's probably shouting at him now.
Yeah.
And he's pulled it at an angle as well, which is silly, really. He's made a bit of a mistake there, bless him. But
yeah, so the pit lane wasn't particularly busy at that point either, so it's not like he had to swerve around.
That's massively delayed than that has, yeah, so that's why we're seeing a replay of that. That wasn't the neatest of changes. As I said, Robin Liddell, team manager, and Mark Lemmer will be having words with the crew about that, or even John, for example.
Yes.
Who owns a very respectable company called Demon Tweets.
He does,
quite a well-known company in the sport.
Yes, they are, absolutely. The Minshaw family as a whole, very rapid indeed. Ian Loggy is heading out of the pit. Sorry, no, not Ian Loggy. He's now handed over the Bentley there to Callum McLeod. He's heading out. That's Johnny Adam, now plugged into the 75 Aston Martin. we're now into this portion of the race where it's not always entirely clear who is at the front of the field, but once everyone's pitted, we'll be able to pick it out. We can guarantee it will not be Phil Keane in the number 33 Lamborghini. He will have some work to do because of that extra 20 seconds that car had to spend in the pit lane as a result of it winning last time out at Alton Park. But there is Phil turning his way through now to complete his first flying lap.
Let's also look at the lap times as well. So we've got AM driver, so the sort of the gentleman driver, if you like, in English terms, did a 1 minute 18.8, for example, which was Minshaw, the fastest lap. Actually, the fastest lap, yeah, Minshaw, 1:18.6. Let's see now, Phil Keane, very, very talented driver, got a lot of respect for him. Let's see how much quicker those lap times are going to go as well. So I'll be studying that as well to help you out.
Race leader at the moment, by the way, is Rick Parfitt Jr., because I think he's the only GT3 car who has not yet stopped. So he's letting all of this chaos die down in the pit lane, and then he's going to come in and make the driver change over. So he is...
Is that because the Bentley's so big? It couldn't fit in that car park earlier?
Yes, it's not the easiest to park, is it? The big Bentley Continental GT3. You need a lot of room to do so, but there is Rick. So at least the reigning champ can say that he's finally led a race this year. It's the first time we've seen this car out in the lead in 2018, albeit as a result of not yet having stopped. But when he does come in, of course, he doesn't have any time penalties, so it will just be the standard 2-minute pit stop. That could help elevate the Bentley back up the order a bit.
We just saw him there flashing his lights to the side of the car. It's like, you've got to flash behind the car so I can see you flashing rather than beside it. So Rick just getting over enthusiastic there with his left thumb on the flasher button.
Yes, he's been using that quite a lot, hasn't he? Yes, he's found that where that button is, and he's keeping his thumb permanently pressed down on it, I think. But he's in amongst some of the GT4 cars. There is, I believe, the car that is going to inherit the race lead. That's car 47, Maxime Martin, now factory Aston Martin driver, of course. One of 5 factory Aston Martin drivers that we've got racing in GT3 here today. Maxime Martin is going to, I think, inherit the race lead. Now, this is 66. This appears to have been a long pit stop here. Sanderhan has handed over the car to Johnny Cocker, but it looks as though maybe they're having some difficulty getting Johnny strapped in there, Charlie.
And Johnny Cocker as well, very, very quick driver, been with Barwell for many years in the Aston, the Lamborghini, Porsche. He's been with the team for a very long time, so he's pretty much cut him in half, and he's had Barwell through and through.
Right, well, he's about to... No, he's still not sending him on the way.
This is a real shame. Absolutely stunning car, and was second, wasn't it, at the time?
Yes.
What a shame for Barwell.
The 47 car is coming through now, so it's definitely not going to get out in front of the Aston Martin. Is the number 69 Lamborghini, but this, I believe, is going to be the car that once everyone has stopped, yes, it is now comfortably the lead GT3 car. So good stuff here from Maxime Martin. He leads the way. It's possible, you know, that Phil Keane is still in second place. I don't think they've actually lost a huge amount of time. Yeah. He's 5th at the moment because we've got some GT4 cars that haven't yet stopped. But I reckon when all of this gets sorted out, he may still be in a podium position. Rick Parfitt Jr., I can tell you, has now brought the Bentley into the pit lane. So he is going to hand over to Ryan Ratcliffe. And in another 2 minutes' time, we'll have the thunderous Bentley back out on the racetrack. So there is... Phil Keane on the screen. There is the Bentley, and that's coming as a very...
I've been watching out the window, so Rick hasn't done the same thing. Why have they all pulled in at a weird angle? I know that's what they've probably done in testing, so they can all fit in. The touring cars do the same thing. They all go in herringbone. Whereas Rick's done the same thing. That's why he couldn't get out quick enough.
Yeah, that's
He's had a busy one, isn't it?
Yes, he storms out of the car.
He's not. He's off to Atlanta now. He's gigging tomorrow.
Yes, I think he'll be glad to get out of here, to be honest, Will Rick. It's not been a particularly enjoyable afternoon for him so far. Hopefully, Ryan Ratcliffe can turn things around for him.
He's got to realise that the cameras are on him, and we could see that little hissy fit. He's just done. Rick, control yourself. You've had a really good time.
Yeah. I think that's the reason that he's dashed off into the garage
I can imagine.
To cool down.
He's had some hard work. Look at the battle scars on the back of the Aston as well there.
Yes, it's been a shame really, because that car, there's no doubt about it, it's quick, it just doesn't like the wet, and doesn't really like being pushed around corners by Aston Martins either. There is the number 55 car, still being driven by Patrick Mathieson incidentally, so he has not yet brought that car in for its pit stop, the number 55 machine, but this is one of the cars that competes in the silver category, so both of the drivers in this car are silver graded drivers. Patrick Mathieson will hand over to Callum Poynton at some point, but because in theory having 2 silver drivers in your car as opposed to a Pro and an AM is a bit of an advantage, the silver drivers have to spend an extra 20 seconds in the pit lane. So realistically, that car is not going to come out in lead contention, but there's every possibility that Callum Poynton might be able to close the gap to the lead cars once he's in the car. We'll have to wait and see. There is one of the other GT4 McLarens just chasing him down, but Patrick Matthiessen running third place overall at the moment on the timing screen, but that's because he is one of very few cars who have not yet made the pit stop. Now, are we finally going to get Johnny Cocker into the race? They've closed the doors.
This is such a shame.
It is, isn't it? I don't know what the problem is. It looks as though maybe they're struggling to get the car fired up now. The door's going back open again.
We'll get Jenny down there. Jenny, I bet Jenny's well on the case.
Oh, she'll be on the case already.
Oh, there she is. We can see the red suit. She's there ready. So hopefully we'll get a word with the team that aren't going to be best pleased at the moment, but it'd be nice to find out what is going on there, because that's such a shame. Patrick
Matthiessen in here in the number 55 HHC Motorsport Ginetta GT4, clambers out, handing over to Callum Poynton, former Ginetta GT4 Super Cup champion.
So driver out, fuel goes in at a very quick rate as well. I don't know how many litres goes in at one time, but it's a darn sight quicker than filling up at your Tesco pump or wherever you fill up at your Shell garage.
Yes, there are times where you stood there tapping your feet and looking at your watch when you're late for a meeting or something, wishing that you had one of these fuel rigs which you could use to pump the fuel into your car. But in a race situation, time is of the essence, and these are very, very expensive bits of kit, these fuel rigs, and they are absolutely invaluable in endurance racing. So this is going to be a slightly longer pit stop anyway, because the GT4 cars, their minimum pit stop time is 155 seconds, so it's actually 35 seconds longer than a GT3 pit stop anyway. Then you add on the extra 20 seconds. It's going to feel like they've been sat in there for about half an hour before we can get the car back out.
You can hear the drills going. You know, the GT cars, as you said, one big nuts straight off.
Spin there, Charlie.
That's a good spin on the exit of the chicane, onto the banking, and left definitely their mark for the next couple of weeks. Loads of skid marks on there. But yeah, why have they... Why? No, he can make that easily. He could easily have made that. Let's have a little look at a replay, possibly. So, coming through the chicane, gets the back end out ever so slightly. Yeah, just ran out of talent. And the Aston Martin driver missed the cone as well. Perfect.
Yeah, the race leader, that was Maxime Martin. Yes. That was another close moment at the final corner with traffic. Maxime will be grateful to have avoided all of that. The livery on these Toyotas, by the way, very interesting. You may not have spotted, but all of those very weird and wonderful shapes. Do you know what they are, Charlie?
Tell me,
They're actually the circuit maps of all of the circuits that we race at in British GT.
Really?
So Rockingham is on there, Alton Park, Snetterton Spa, Silverstone. Exactly, it's one of those liveries that until you look at it closely, you don't really see what it is. But yeah, they revealed after Alton Park, because no one had noticed that that's what it was. They revealed what it was, and it's
that's not very good if nobody noticed.
Well, it is a sort of camouflage livery, I guess.
We'll keep telling people about it. We'll keep telling people about it. Plug in the livery.
We will. No, it's a very good looking car, but unfortunately they've had a few mechanical issues. The other car I can see that for stellar performance is in the pit garage. So race leader is Maxime Martin. Phil Keane is second. The gap between the top two, 13.5 seconds, but Phil is lapping, well, on the previous lap, 1.5 seconds quicker than Maxime Martin, and that takes some doing, because Maxime is a very rapid driver indeed. We'll see what the lap times are like this time around. Third place is Darren Turner, now at the wheel of the Beach Dean Aston Martin, so they've gained out
also very talented.
Yes, so too is Jelmer Burner in fourth, and then also in fifth place we've got the number 24 car, that's now Struan Moore. He's very quick, so is Marco Sorensen. All of the pro drivers are very quick, aren't they? But they're all in the cars now, and we're going to start seeing some of the gaps really start to change. But again, on that lap, Phil Keane, 6/10ths quicker than Maxime Martin, and he's still got 47 minutes left to catch him.
And this car is exactly the same. They haven't even all they've done is rebuilt it, completely stripped it out, and I believe that Jenny is with the Barwell team down with Jenny. So Jenny, down to you.
Yeah, can you just let us know what happened? Obviously, you got one very poorly car in the pits.
Yeah, well, quite early on in the stint, actually, that Sam radioed in to say that there was an alarm came up on the dash to say that the automatic clutch system failed. These modern cars have an automatic clutch, which calculates a lot of stuff automatically, and it failed. We're hoping that you can go to manual override normally, but we came into the pits, stopped the car, but we were unable to use the manual override, which meant that it wouldn't allow Johnny to engage first gear, and that's the trouble with modern technology, really. You know, good old-fashioned clutch and a gearbox doesn't exist, so we were unable to select first gear. We tried a few things, but we've called it. We can't solve the problem we're a few laps down now anyway, so
So frustrating, isn't it, when you know that you're having a good day and all of a sudden a pit stop can just ruin it for you because you can't get the car restarted. Presumably you knew that was always a possibility when you brought it in.
Yeah, we knew that it could be a problem during, it wasn't affecting the car for Sam, but Sam's done an incredible job for a rookie. I mean, fantastic. It really, we've got to take some positives out of today. He drove a brilliant stint, brilliant start, and their time will come. We're going to keep fighting and get these guys on the podium at the next one.
Good stuff. Thanks very much. Sorry about the car.
No problem. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Jenny. Well, whilst we've been down in the pit lane, as seems to be the theme of the day, the safety car has come back out again. So every time we hand over to Jenny, the safety car comes out. So we'll bear that in mind in the future. But the reason is that this number 22 Jaguar that was spun by Ben Norfolk about 15 minutes ago or so now, maybe even longer, is still in a dangerous position. But I think what they were doing is they were waiting until the pit lane window had closed and everyone had stopped, rather than send the safety car out and really jumble up the order whilst the pit stops were happening. So that's why we've waited now. The pit stops have all been done, safety car's out on track, and that lovely 12-second lead that Maxime Martin had has now disappeared.
Which is great again for us and the spectators. So car number 10, Hutchinson, and also Plowman have got track limits. So they've got, the safety car is obviously out, but they're being told off a little bit for track limits. So now the pro drivers are out there now. They're pushing a little bit harder and they're taking the mickey a little bit, so to speak, as it were. So they're pushing the boundaries more, which means if they run 4 wheels outside of that white line that we can see on our bottom left corner of the screen, that means that they get a penalty, because in theory they're making the track wider than what it should be, and they're just pushing the boundaries a little bit too much, really. So you must have only 2 wheels outside of the white line on any corner. So they're just getting the naughty boy slap wrist, as it were, at the moment. But if they continue to do it, they could get a drive-through penalty or even a 10-second penalty.
So the order of the race then, with just under 3/4 of an hour to go, Maxime Martin leads in car number 47. Number 33, the Demon Tweaks Lamborghini of Phil Keane, is second place. Darren Turner, he's going to be one to watch on this restart, I think, in the 99 Beach Team, Aston Martin, is third.
Think of ice cream.
No, don't. It's far too cold for ice cream. This is not ice cream weather. Fourth place is Jelmer Berman in the 116 car. That's the Mercedes that's really come out of nowhere. It's been running around at the back of the GT3 field all day, but staying out of trouble. Fifth place is Struan Moore in car number 24. Sixth is Marco Sorensen in the number 17 Aston Martin after its drive-through penalty. This is good news for them, because of course they've regained the time they lost with that extra pit lane visit. Seventh place is Alex McLeod in the number 7 Bentley. The number 1 Bentley of Ryan Ratcliffe, again, benefits from the dramas that they've had. They're in 8th place, and now they've closed right back in on the leaders. 9th place, the number 75 Aston Martin, is Johnny Adam. Now, Johnny Adam holds the record for wins within the GT3 class. He's won 13 rounds of the championship. If Phil Keane wins this race, he will draw level with Johnny Adam for overall GT3 race wins. If Johnny Adam wins, he extends that winning record. But also, if Phil Keane can win this race, he will go to the top of the list of outright race victories in the history of the championship. So for Phil Keane, he only needs to get past one more car and he makes history in British GT. The trouble is that one car is being driven by Maxime Martin, one of the top GT talents in the world.
And there's still 43 minutes to go.
Yes, exactly. There's time for another 6 safety cars probably.
A lot can happen. As we've just said, rain, marshals doing their job brilliantly as well, gravel on the track, anything can happen. But my money's still on Keeney, I think, really, on Phil.
Well, there we go. Well, let's find out, because the safety car lights are off. We're about to go racing again. I've told you who's in the cars in GT3. We'll turn to GT4 in a little while. We'll get the restart out of the way first. But you can see that there is a blue Aston Martin separating the top 2 cars. That is the number 11 car, now being driven by Nicky Thiem, still 1 lap down. So you can take that car out of the equation for the lead battle, but he'll still be keen to get back onto that lead lap and try and salvage something from the race. So out onto the pit straight they come. It is the white and orange Aston Martin car 47 of Maxime Martin that leads, and it is the green and red Demon Tweaks Lamborghini of Phil Keane in second place. There, ducking out of the line, getting past some of the GT4 cars in third, is Darren Turner, former British touring car racer, and then of course went on to have an incredibly successful career as a factory Aston Martin racer. Still does indeed have a successful career as a factory Aston Martin racer. The Mercedes there, the flash through screen, is 4th, that's Jelmer Berman, and then there's a little bit of a gap back to Struan Moore in the Nissan, running in 5th place. But Darren Turner here, keen to get past these GT4 cars, because all the time he's stuck in this traffic, the lead 2 are pulling away.
And we've seen it before as well. When you're passing the GT4 cars, not necessarily back markers as such, but they are in their own race. I'd just like to add that, rather than upsetting anyone, calling them back markers. They can still get tangled up, and things, bodywork can fly, as we've seen with Rick Parfitt earlier, and hopefully he's calmed down a little bit now, bless him. But he had a great run, but just got taken out, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been unfortunate, and of course, because we keep getting these safety cars, it keeps bunching the field together. And the old adage is that safety cars breed safety cars.
Right. Look at that. There you go. That's what it can all cause by cars getting in the way.
Yeah, that is Struan Moore trying to defend his 5th place from the black Aston Martin of Marco Sorensen. So this is for position, and Marco is looking to the inside. You've also got Callum McLeod in the Team Park Racing Bentley, the other Team Park Racing Bentley, car number 7, in behind. So these 3 GT3 cars, Nissan versus Aston Martin versus Bentley, all fighting for position. Interestingly, the 3 manufacturers that are front-engine cars, and it's the Aston Martin that is dragging itself ahead, using the traffic as a pick as well as it came across the start-finish line. And so Marco Sorensen goes into 5th position at the expense of the Nissan of Struan Moore, who unfortunately seems to be unable to replicate the pace that Devon Modell had in the car in the first stint. There is your 2nd place man, Phil Keane. Still got that number 11 Aston Martin of Nicky Thiem separating him from the race leader, but there's nothing separating Darren Turner and Jelmer Berman for 3rd place. This is Mercedes versus Aston Martin. Great to see so many manufacturers out on track in the British GT Championship this year, both within GT3 and GT4. We made the point earlier on that there are 6 different manufacturers in GT3, and they're all capable of winning, which is just what we wanted to see, especially this weekend, having the McLaren, before it came into grief with the wall, and the Nissan, cars that we haven't really seen right at the sharp end for a while. They've shown good pace this weekend as well.
Yeah, they have, yeah. It's just great to see all these different manufacturers out there, really. It's phenomenal, but more McLarens now than we've probably ever seen before. It's getting very busy. There's gravel.
No.
What were we just saying?
What have we done? That, unfortunately...
I didn't say anything.
No, I'll take the blame for that
You
one.
said that.
That is Struan Moore, and that is the Nissan beached in the gravel trap. We need to stop saying nice things about people, because every time we do, something seems to go wrong.
Right.
And the Nissan in the gravel now, that is well and truly stuck.
And
it's been a safety car.
And it's in a braking area, so if anyone goes off into the gravel, they're going to hit that car. So that could cause another safety car. Well, but the tractor's on its way, so tractor's on its way to hopefully just drag it out. But I believe that'll either be waved yellows at that corner or possibly another safety car.
Yeah, the Tarzan hairpin, we do have a live snatch vehicle that does what it says on the tin. It can snatch the car out of the gravel track whilst the racetrack is still live, and so that means we may not need the safety car, which will be good news because the battling can all continue unimpeded then. The bulk of the GT3 cars have now got themselves back in front of the GT4s, but no, just as I'm saying we might not need a safety car, I can see out of the window the safety car flag is out. On the screen we now get confirmation of that. And we do this all over again. So this is the 4th safety car period we've had in this race. It's been, and we've still got 40 minutes to go. Here is a replay potentially of what happened. Well, we didn't see the start of it, Charlie. The car already in the gravel.
It's just gone in way too fast on the brakes, and the back end's come round as the back's gone slightly light as he's braked too late, and it's just come round opposite locked and just gone onto that wet bit of grass, and the gravel's just basically sucked him straight over towards the barrier. No real damage, but there'll just be a little bit of probably just doing a bit of a re-wrap on it, I would have thought, really, just because the gravel can damage the paint and the vinyl wraps on these cars quite easily.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tick...
Bucket and spade?
Oh, yes, it's not really beach weather, is it, say? But there we go, that car is well
that's a real shame, that.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to cross Nissan off a list that I've been making. I'm going to cross McLaren off a list. This is the list of GT3 manufacturers who have never won at Rockingham. McLaren have never won here. Nissan have never won here. Nor have Mercedes, and nor, surprisingly, have Lamborghini. But one interesting stat that I learned this morning is that the last 5 years, the Rockingham race has been won by a different manufacturer each time. And remarkably, Lamborghini and Mercedes have never done it. Well, we've got a Lamborghini in 2nd and a Mercedes in 4th.
Yep.
They're separated by all of these Aston Martins up at the front, but there is a good chance we could get a 6th different manufacturer winning in 6 consecutive years. Now, that is something that doesn't often happen. It tends to be that certain circuits suit certain cars. The Rockingham circuit clearly seems to be one that there is no real favouritism for.
Well, it throws loads into the mix, doesn't it? When it's dry, it causes lots of degradation on the tyres. The tyres can't cope necessarily with the abrasive surface. When it's wet, it's really slippery. It's a circuit that's just... it's not really consistent. You go to Donington, it's smooth, it's flowing, and you've got to get a good lap time with the smoothness of the circuit. Whereas Rockingham, it's always a spanner in the works, but he's causing a great race.
Absolutely, and you've got the long straights which suit certain cars, but then you've got the really technical infield section which suits maybe the mid-engine, more nimble cars. Add it all together, and it's very, very close indeed.
And a concrete wall.
And a concrete wall, yes, which unfortunately
yes.
the McLaren got to make a rather close inspection of earlier on of Sean Balfe, but that car...
Oh, also, while we're mentioning Sean Balfe, he did actually compete in the London Marathon and did it in around 4 hours and 50 minutes. So a big shout out to Sean, who's probably on his way home now, gutted, licking his wounds, and helping the team try and establish what happened.
Yes, absolutely, but no, well done. Anyone who can complete a marathon at any time is superhuman, as far as I'm concerned. Because
have you done it?
Funnily enough, no, I haven't.
Are you going to before you're gone?
Probably not. No.
Okay.
I'm much happier on my sofa watching the spectacle, I think, on that occasion. Anyone who can complete a marathon like that, it shows the fitness level required to be a racing driver. I know that we refer to the pros and the AMs, but it goes back to the point I was making earlier on. If you want to be a quick AM driver, you have to go about it seriously. You have to train, you have to eat right, you have to practice and test frequently, and that's why the AM drivers these days are as good as the professional drivers in many ways. Because
they work, because they want to be, and they've got that benchmark as well, So Callum McLeod's teammate, for example, will be living, eating, breathing everything that Callum does, basically, to get to his level, because Callum's a very quick driver, like so is Darren Turner, Johnny Adam, for example. They're all up there.
No, absolutely. We're getting notification now that the 72 car has been given a stop-go penalty for a pit stop infringement. Now, number 72 is the track club McLaren, Adam Ballon and Ben Cabarnico. So when Adam came in to hand over to Ben, unfortunately, something has gone wrong. They've not kept within the pit stop regulations. They will have to serve a stop-go penalty once the racing resumes, which is going to happen this time.
Because he's a quick kid, quick lad, done very, very well to be where he is now. And that is a real shame. That was a real shame, because they could have been tipped to win in a way, because they were third in class? Yeah, third in class they were, so that is a real shame,
Right, that changes the GT4 picture, GT4 being led now by Callum Poynton in the number 55 Ginetta, who benefited from the safety car, I think, earlier on, but second place is car number 4, which is that McLaren again, now with Michael O'Brien at the wheel, so they've swapped over the Ginetta and the McLaren, but they're still fighting for the class lead. Right, safety car is in, 34 minutes and 20 seconds left on the clock, and we still have Maxime Martin leading the way, with Phil Keane in second, but look at this battle for third place. This is where the action's going to be down towards Dean, I think, with Darren Turner third, Yelman Berman fourth, and Marco Sorensen fifth in the black Aston Martin, who has a little look to the inside. In the end, though, they're all very evenly matched on the brakes, as you'd expect from a group of professional drivers.
And the following pack, 3 abreast going through turn 1 as they went under the safety car flags.
Yeah, which includes, I believe, Ratcliffe in the other of the Team Barker Bentleys, but up towards the right-hand corner at Chapman we go here. That's Yelmer Berman in the yellow, white and black Mercedes in an Aston Martin sandwich.
They do sound good, those
Mercedes.
They do.
It's that rumble as they come through, and that's one of the great things about...
Bentley's better? Bentley sounds better than...
Well, I couldn't possibly have favourites, but I am rather fond of that Bentley, I must say.
It's cool,
it's a real spectacle every time it comes through on the track, isn't it? But that's the great thing about GT racing, is if you close your eyes, you know which car's coming past you, because they all sound unique, and that's something that's rather getting lost, I think, across some forms of motorsport around the world. Right then, back with this leading group. The top 5 cars essentially are together, if you discount the blue Aston Martin that's still that lap down, but Yelmer Berman looks racy here, trying to go around the outside of Darren Turner, and that is not something you see every day. Round the outside of Darren Turner into the chicane, and Yelmer Berman moves the Mercedes into third. Now watch his lap times, because he's got a bit of clean air in front of him to catch the top 2. If he's got the pace, he should be with them in a lap or so. He's set some quick lap times earlier on, and now he's not being impeded by the Aston Martin.
In a way, it's sensible for Darren Turner to actually have that move done, because he could have easily, got in the way and tagged the back of the car. We've got a McLaren in the pits, number 72.
Yeah, that's Ben Barnico.
Which is Ben Barnico.
Yes,
and are they giving up? But the rear engine cover just came off then as well. So
yeah, they are. There is attention being given to the rear of that car. I can see out of the window, but yes, and they're delving into the engine, unfortunately. So this might not just be that stop-go penalty. There may be some other drama going on. There we see it in the pit lane. The mechanics leaning in. The car was due to come in for a stop-go penalty anyway, for a pit stop infringement, but it looks as though they would have had to bring the car in anyway. So that is going on in the pit lane. This is going on out on the track, and we've still got this situation where Nicky Team is trying desperately to get back on the lead lap. Would it almost be sensible here, Charlie, for Maxime Martin to say, do you know what, if you really want to come through, on you go. I don't need to race you. You're one lap behind me.
As long as, okay, he's a racing driver, so he doesn't want to let anyone past him, so he's not going to let that happen. As we see two of the Astons nearly touch. Darren Turner really struggling through the chicane, chopped his nose straight off there. Sorry, that was a Mercedes. Sorry, it wasn't two Astons, that was a Mercedes.
No, you were right the first time there, Charlie. It is.
Yes, because it is. Sorry, yeah, it is. I was right, yeah.
Marcus Sorensen, that is, at the inside of
cars, yeah.
Turner, and we've had a bit
That's
of
crazy.
Yeah, that was very close indeed, but Darren Turner seems to be struggling for pace, doesn't he?
Yeah, a little bit, to let two people overtake him on that same corner, one after the other. That's a bit of a strange one, really, because Darren's a very, very quick driver.
Possibly some sort of handling and balance that's just affecting him through the tight corners, maybe.
Yes.
Lack of change of direction, who knows. Could be a braking issue, could be anything, but either way, it's not normal for us to see Darren Turner going backwards, is it? He's usually gaining places, so there's something not quite right there. He's now got Callum McLeod in the Team Park Racing Bentley Continental right on his tail, so that means that he's dropped all the way down into
and he looks like
5th place.
That Bentley looks like he's going to have Darren at any point, really, which is obviously good for the Bentley, but not good for the Aston.
Well, this is Bentley weather, really, because the car is very good in the dry, but it also uses its tyres quite hard. So the fact that it's cool, but still dry, that's perfect, really, for the pair of Bentleys. More drive-through penalties. Car 47 now. The race leader is being given a drive-through penalty for exceeding the track limits. Would you believe? Maxime Martin is going to be brought into the pit lane, and he will have to hand over the race lead to Phil Keane. What drama we've got. Interestingly, though, the Barwell team manager is being summoned to race control. We know not why, but the car that's about to inherit the race lead could be in trouble for something completely unrelated. But there we go, Maxime Martin, he's leading the race, but he has to serve a drive-through penalty. What must he be saying inside that car right now?
I don't think we can repeat it live on air, to be honest with you, but yeah. So I did say that you'd give me, what was it, £150 or something for the Lamborghini to win?
I don't recall that conversation.
I'm sure we did a handshake on it. I'm sure we did.
Sure about that.
But I did put money down on the Lambo. But yeah, and also that would be good for our records as well, because we said about the Lamborghini.
Well, it was Lamborghini and Mercedes, and we're now going to have a Lamborghini Mercedes 1-2, so that is going to be interesting to see what happens, but we do know that the Aston Martin is going to be coming into the pit lane, and it makes sense, doesn't it, really, for Maxine to just get this over and done with. Don't sit there arguing the case, come in, get the stop go done.
Get it done.
Yeah, exactly.
And Ben Barnicoat in the McLaren has now left the pit lane again, so
change for second place, and that's Jelmer Berman. Jelmer Berman gets ahead of Phil Keane, but that is about to become the race lead. So Mercedes goes ahead of Lamborghini, the Aston Martin is about to come in and serve a drive-through, so that was essentially for the race lead. Jelmer Berman finds a way past Phil Keane. That's another thing you don't see very often, is Phil Keane getting overtaken.
Nope.
Right, the Aston Martin's in the pit lane, the Mercedes is about to inherit the race lead, so that was perfectly timed for Jelmer Berman as he now escapes at the head of the field. There is a disconsolate Maxime Martin making his way at what will feel like a snail's pace down the pit lane. Where's he going to rejoin? Somewhere behind Ryan Ratcliffe, I think. So he's going to be in 9th position, I reckon, when he rejoins, having pitted from the lead. It's bad luck for him that it's happened so soon after a safety car, because the whole field were together, and he's going to lose an absolute handful of places.
Yeah.
Well,
that's, well, at the end of the day, it was his fault, because he's been... We all know the rules now. It's been introduced now for the last probably five years or so. We've all had a drive-through penalty because of it. You can't use all the road. You can't take the mickey like that. You can't. So he's in theory to blame himself, but he's going to be absolutely seething in that car. Absolutely seething. And I'd like to see his lap times now. Weather looks like it's closing in again, but unless it's just that one camera angle that we've got, I don't know. But it's and there's debris falling off the. So right, that might be. So that's the lead Mercedes. There's debris on the far right-hand side of the car. So as we look at it, from the driver's point of view on the left-hand side, there's something hanging off the side of the car, which could, in a way, cause maybe a flag to be waved at that car because it's dangerous. But we will see, and that's the lead car.
Replay here.
Here we go. So this is.
Is this when maybe Maxime Martin exceeded the?
So right rear. Okay, so that's that's quite.
Oh wow! Yeah. That is a puncture out to the far side of the circuit for Maxime Martin. That's after he's done his drive-through. So
he's going to have to come in again. It could have just been the inside wheel arch. That could have been the inside wheel arch, because that's quite a bumpy corner, that. The tyre, he would not be going around the banking like that if the tyre was mantled is the word, whatever.
Yes.
But yeah, that would be the inside wheel arch. That would be the inside wheel arch that's broken off as the suspension has compressed, decompressed, and ripped up. So nothing too much drama there, but it looked good though, didn't it?
It was spectacular, that's for sure. That caught my attention. So Maxime Martin, car a little bit lighter, but thankfully still going in the right direction. There he is, and there's bits hanging off it now, but that should be okay. He should be able to continue as he heads back through that part of the circuit. You were mentioning the
it was
the
there.
bumps
That was
through
it.
there
There's the
earlier
debris.
on. Yeah, you can see
Please don't bring another safety car
on
out.
the apex. Yeah, that was my next point, but we'll not mention that.
Let's hope somebody goes wide, clips it, and knocks it out of the way. Yeah, let's hope they do that, because it is on the racing line-ish. But let's not hope we're going to have a safety car, because that would be a shame.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, this is the battle back with the number 54 Nissan for second place within GT4, because Jesse Antilla, who is in this car, has brought it right up the order. It's now right on the tail of Michael O'Brien in the number 4 McLaren. This is for second in GT4. They're both trailing still the number 55 car of Callum Poynton. The Ginetta now started to build a bit of a lead in GT4, but this is for second place, and the McLaren runs very wide through Tarzan, and Nissan is alongside now Jesse Antilla as he heads down towards the left flick at the school chicane. But the McLaren it is who will stay in front just about. So back out onto the pit straight they will come. We're getting a notification now that car number 10 has been given its 4th track limit warning.
So I read that out earlier, didn't I?
Yeah,
car
not yet
10,
been given a penalty.
Which was Hutchinson.
Yes, the GT4 car. So as we now do see the change, Jesse Antilla up the inside into turn number 1, takes second place away. Now, when was the last time that the Nissan GT4 car finished on the podium? It's been a while, if it's ever happened at all. So the Nissan is into second place. Can it close down on the race leader? It's a tough ask, because Callum Poynton is 9.9 seconds up the road, but nonetheless, we'll see what sort of pace Jesse has.
And Ben Barnicoat, the car that we saw in the pits earlier, who had a penalty, has retired now, I believe. His car's been put on the trolley jacks and reversed back into the pit garage. It didn't look healthy as it came out the pits, because the engine cover came off. But
yeah.
Oh, what a race so far. This is brilliant.
Good luck 25 minutes to go.
Good luck when we do the highlights.
Yes, compressing this down into a highlight format is not going to be easy. This is the race leader. This is Jelmer Berman in the Mercedes AMG. He leads the way. Phil Keane is second, and Marco Sorensen is third, despite the fact that car has also served a drive-through penalty for contact with the number 1 Bentley, remember, and it's now looking good for a podium finish. So it's been a dramatic enough race that even cars that have had penalties have been able to come back into it and potentially score a decent finish still. Car number 75, Johnny Adam, is now being warned for his 4th track limit warning, so another car that could potentially come under the scrutiny of the clerk. Of course, if he does it again, that will be another drive-through penalty, and there are still 25 minutes to go, so that's quite a long time to not cross that white line. Cross it once more, and you're going to find your way into the pit lane, and that must be distracting in a way for a driver, because once you get that notification that you're on your final warning, all of a sudden your concentration is on not running out over the edge of the track, and you're being ultra careful, and that's when mistakes can happen.
And that's when the lap times won't be as quick as they were, because you're not obviously utilising as much of the road as possible. I'm looking at we seem to be picking up some of the GT, the Barwell team, and one of them shaking their head. Please don't tell me that Keeney's gone too wide at one of the corners, but also I'm keen to find out about the Berman car that's got a bit of debris that looks like it's flapping around on the side of the car. But if we can try and have a look at that at some point, that would be good. So the lead Mercedes on the left-hand side of the car, there's something, seems to be something loose. There we go. You can just see, you can hear it scraping as it goes past as well. So it doesn't look too serious.
No, he's had a whack though, hasn't he? And it's exposed the exhaust, actually, hasn't it?
So that'll only just cool it down anyway, well, so it might perform better, you never know. But
back to your point about Barwell, we did have that notification, which has now disappeared from the timing screen about 20 minutes ago, that the team manager had been summoned to the race control. Now, we don't know what it was for, and the message has now disappeared from the screens, but that maybe is what those frantic radio messages were. Maybe they know something we don't. We'll find out in due course, I'm sure.
But we did just see one of the team members there with our camera guy in the pit lane, with him shaking his head.
Yeah.
Maybe he didn't want to be filmed, or something's happened that we don't quite know about yet. But another warning flag for car number 75. Pit stop, 10-second penalty, pit infringement, car 33.
Well,
Is that?
Yes, that's, race leader, or second place car.
That's our Lamborghini, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So Phil
that's why he's
Keane-
shaking his head.
Exactly, so they did know something we didn't know. A 10-second stop-go penalty, that is, for the Lamborghini. That will take it out of second place. So
This is all to play for, isn't it?
It really is.
Okay, so he's in. He's done
Yes.
it. So that was quick. So they've responded well. They've got on with it. Oh, he's still to sit there now.
Yeah,
so the
now-
engine's not ready. Look at him. Look at him smash them.
Right, well, yes, so into the pit lane has now come the Lamborghini. Also down in the pit lane is Jenny, hopefully with some news.
Yes, I can tell you that Lamborghini is in because they had to serve a 10-second stop-go penalty. They had too many people crossing the line during that pit stop. You're not allowed to do that. That is why they've had to come into the pits.
There we go then. So that is the verdict. Too many men over the wall at the pit stop apparently was the ruling. Of course, we have a NASCAR-style pit lane here with a hot and a cold pit lane. It's unique to Rockingham, where you're only allowed a certain number of crew member over that wall into the hot pit lane, and they clearly exceeded it, probably whilst they were manoeuvring the car around. Remember, it went too far in. So there we go. That's the reason. Now the penalty has dropped him. Let's have a look where he is on the track. I think it's dropped him somewhere around 9th place-ish. I think he's behind Maxime Martin now. So, of course, Maxime Martin, the other driver that had a drive-through penalty.
But his pace is 16, 17, it's good 3 seconds quicker than anyone else on the track. 3 seconds faster.
Yes.
That's phenomenal.
Add in the idea that he's now rather miffed in that car, and that might find an extra few tenths of seconds.
21, just under 20 minutes, just under 21 minutes left. So can he still do it? What's the gap? You're probably better at maths than I am, but
well, let's see. When he's about to come across the line, so we'll now get the fully accurate gap. So let's see. He's coming out to the final corner now. Meanwhile, Yelmer Berman on the screen is stuck in lots of traffic. This is going to be eating into his race lead. But Phil Keane crosses the line. He's 33 seconds off the race lead. His best lap times are not quite as quick as the race leaders, but we'll wait and see. They're in traffic. If there's another safety car, that could change everything as well. This race ain't over yet. We've seen so many twists and turns.
Yeah, I wouldn't like to say.
I'm counting no chickens just yet, that's for sure. 20 minutes still to go. There's plenty of time for things to change. There is Yelmer Berman, though, in amongst the traffic. The GT4 cars having their own race, trying to stay out of the way of the quicker cars as well, which is easier said than done. Marco Sorensen is now second in the number 17 Aston Martin, and Darren Turner is back into third place because whilst all this was going on, he found a way back ahead of Callum McLeod in the Team Park Racing Bentley. So Turner back onto the podium. This is the other Team Park Racing Bentley. This is Ryan Ratcliffe, and he's got a fired up and angry Maxime Martin trying to take 6th place away from him. Remember, Maxime was the first of the high-profile pit lane penalties that we had, and he served a drive-through. He's back out on track, and he's now trying to salvage what he can, Charlie.
Yeah, he is, and as we said, Rick Parfitt's off to Atlanta to perform with Rick Astley tonight or tomorrow, and his teammate is going back to be a design engineer in Wales, so slightly different.
Yeah, so one of them's living the Hollywood lifestyle, the other one maybe not so much, but what is happening is that car has just lost a place, I'm afraid, so Maxime Martin has found a way through.
That orange and white Aston looks like it's on a right mission, looks like a scalded cat.
Yes, now
it's on it.
Who's the next target for Maxime? 9.8 seconds further up the road is Johnny Adam, who is in turn catching Callum McLeod, so there's I wouldn't write out Maxime Martin's chances of a top 5 finish here. He's just worked his way through into 6th, and he is quicker than the cars in front, so Maxime Martin could yet gain more positions. There's Yelmer Berman, he's got no more positions to make, but what is the gap like to the second place car, Marco Sorensen? It's 2.3 seconds. On the previous lap it came down by half a second, but traffic no doubt had something to do with that. There is the GT4 battle. That is the fight for third place within GT4. It's the number 4 McLaren. No, it's not, excuse me. It's number 4 McLaren of O'Brien, trying to hang on to the position from the number 10 one of Hutchinson as it hits the brakes in towards the Dean hairpin. They've got the race leaders about to come through as well. Hutchinson up the inside. Have to be careful. No, this is for position though, and they've got the race leader about to put a lap on
right in the middle of them.
Whoa, well, that's number 11 car. That's Nicky Team, who through all of this is back onto the lead lap. But Yelmer Berman is there as well. They come out of the right-hander at Yenwood into Chapman Curve.
He's through. Yeah, we've got the leader there.
Yeah, this is all very busy, and this is the thing. Even if you've got yourself quite a comfortable lead, lead, there's so much potential for things to go wrong that are out of your control.
Yeah, exactly. The GT4 battles that are going on, they're all still very, very evenly matched. You know, the championship organisers, SRO, you know, work out the weight of the cars, the power of the cars, the restriction of the cars, so you can't have too much power. You know, the Bentley might have more power than the McLaren, for example. So it's all balanced out very, very evenly. Hence, they have the penalties for doing well in the pit stops, which just brings it closer together. And ever since I've been commentating on GTs for the last 2 or 3 years now, there's always drama in the pit lane. It always causes penalties, people make mistakes. You'd think they'd get it by now, wouldn't you? 3 people on the car, not 7, you know, you'd think they'd get it. But yeah, Barwell are not going to be happy. 1 car in the garages, leading, and then being punished there for too many men on the car.
Yeah,
not a good day for Paul Barwell.
No, it's not really, has it? We've had more team managers, by the way, being summoned to race control. GT4 cars, these ones, so cars 53, 501 and 4. 4 is actually Finlay O'Brien, who we were watching there, sorry, Michael O'Brien, who we were watching there dicing away with Finlay Hutchinson, trying to hold on to 4th place in class. They've all been summoned to the race control, but we don't know whether they're going to be given penalties as of yet.
I thought you were going to give us another record then. We've had the most Clark of the courses up from GT4. I thought there was going to be a record breaker there.
Yes, well, I wonder what the record is for most drive-through penalties, because we've had quite a few in this race, haven't we? We've still got 16 minutes and 20 seconds left on the clock, in which we can still see plenty more twists and turns, I'm sure.
I can safely say I've only had 1 in my whole career. Which was 4 track limits for Snetterton, yeah.
Yeah, so there aren't many racing drivers out there now who haven't been given penalties for track limits, I don't think.
If you haven't done it, you're not trying hard enough. It's got to be done.
Well, yes, that's one way of looking at it. Probably not the opinion of the Clark, of course, but that is that's the racing driver's view, that's for sure. So this battle's still raging on for GT4 honours. This is the 3rd place battle then, so O'Brien's still ahead of Hutchinson, and behind them now is the number 62 car. That is the Aston Martin of Matt Nicol-Jones. So this is 3rd, 4th and 5th in GT4, and they're getting themselves ever closer together. 2 McLarens versus the Aston Martin, and the Aston Martin is the one with the pace at the moment. Matt Nicol-Jones on that particular lap, let's see, he was some 0.8 of a second quicker than the 2 McLarens dicing in front. They've got the GT3 Aston Martin now of Johnny Adam, 5th place car, starting to carve its way through, as well as the McLarens go side by side. To the outside line there went Hutchinson, but then he has to step out of the way to allow the quicker GT3 cars through. Down in towards Jenswood, and we've got Bentley in there as well, haven't we? Callum McLeod also trying to find his way through.
You're not going to miss that car in a hurry, are you, in your mirrors?
No, and
that's for sure.
Yes, they are very good at bullying their way through the Bentleys, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely.
Big bruisers.
If I was driving one of them, I would. The Aston has overtaken.
Yes, whilst they were being lapped. So that is Matt Nicol-Jones into 4th place within GT4 now. So he's found a way ahead of Hutchinson. Next target would be O'Brien, and that would get the Aston Martin onto the podium. So that was all whilst the GT3 cars were coming through. And again, we spoke about this earlier on. As the quicker cars come through, it's the instinct almost for the GT4 cars to just jump out of the way, but when you're in your own battle and you're defending a position, that's not what you want to do.
No, that's not what you want to do at all. Just looking at lap times, really. So we've got Keane and Team. Is it Team?
Yeah. Team, yeah.
Team are the fastest 2 on track at the moment. Keane has just done a stonking lap of a 17.8, so he is the quickest at the moment. No, he's not. Forgive me. Actually,
he is, I think.
Keane and Team basically are both roughly doing very, very similar lap times, so they are both 2 cars on an absolute mission.
Yes, and Phil Keane, I believe, has gained a place on that lap at the expense of Ryan Ratcliffe. So he was right behind him at the start of the lap. At the end of the lap, he's 3.5 seconds in front. So Phil Keane, his next target is Maxime Martin, the other driver that's had that penalty, but he's 6.5 seconds further up the road. There goes the number 75 car, so that is Johnny Adam picking his way through. And he is running in 5th place, 4.5 seconds behind Callum McLeod.
Yeah, sorry, GT3 past the GT4. Yeah, so we've got the battle there. So remember, as I said earlier, McLaren pumping a lot of money into motorsport at the moment. Lots of McLarens. It's better down the pub, isn't it, to say you race a McLaren rather than a Ginetta, maybe, I don't know, but it's still a blooming cool car to drive, or a Ginetta, McLaren, Bentley, whatever it may be. But you've got some of the younger guys, so number 4, for example, with O'Brien, have been picked as sort of a young starter team and like a scholarship and academy that they're running. not bad, is it? Being however old the young lads are, to be asked to drive for McLaren, that's a pretty cool coup, as it were.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't say no to it.
Good lunge there.
Interestingly, remember a lap or so ago, the number 10 car of Hutchison lost a position whilst being lapped to the Aston Martin. Well, he just did exactly the same thing back to Matt Nicol-Jones in the Aston Martin. So at least he's learning, isn't he, from his experiences?
Yep, so he's gone up one, so that's good. So we're literally talking about the GT battle now. It's pretty fraught in that GT4 battle, isn't it?
It is, and it has been all race long, and McLaren's and Aston Martins have been at the centre of it all race.
Here we
Around
go.
the outside comes Hutchison. This is for position on the number 4 car now of O'Brien, who runs in deep into the Dean Harewood. Clever stuff there, because he knew that if he ran wide, he'd still have the inside line for the next couple of corners, which are right-handers, and so he comes out of the Edward, still with the position.
These guys look much quicker than the red-black number 4 McLaren of O'Brien, I believe it is. Yep. They're sort of he's holding them back, and then we've got the Keane's in there. Where's that Lamborghini just come from? He's in the middle of it, so he's going to separate them all slightly, but the power and the grip difference of those cars are phenomenal. So he's just going to sail past, but he's given the 4 McLaren of O'Brien a bit of breathing space, but I believe that those two are going to be back on his case very, very quickly.
Yeah, this is for 3rd place in GT4, remember, and there are only 11.5 minutes to go. Where's this race gone? 11.5 minutes to go. Oh no, that's Ratcliffe, I'm afraid. Ryan Ratcliffe in the...
It's coming into the turn 3, Yetwood.
Now there's no damage to the car.
But that's
visible.
a weird place to stop, and he wouldn't have spun there.
No, because it's on corner entry, isn't it?
Yeah, it was on corner entry. So very strange.
Yeah.
We'll find out about that. I don't know why the Bentley would have stopped there, but that was a very weird place to have stopped. Yeah. So the lights go off, back on again, so they had to reset it, start the car up again. It's maybe an electrical fault, I don't know, but not good for the Parker team with the number 1 Bentley. That's a real shame as well. But back to the battle of GT4.
Yes, absolutely. So down in towards the Dean Harewood they go. That will do absolutely nothing to improve the mood of Rick Parfitt Jr. down in the garage, watching on as his team car crawls to a halt. This, though, is the fight for 3rd, and this is hotting up nicely as back to the outside now goes Finlay Hutchison, trying to find a way past Michael O'Brien, takes the wide line into Yentwood, gets the tight line out, gets the inside for the right-hander at Chapman, but no, he couldn't quite find a McLaren-sized hole on the inside line. There's a bit of debris that fell off a car earlier on.
I'm happy with that. That's not going to affect the race now. That's been pushed wide. It's been dislodged, as it were, and it's out the way. So no safety car for that, which is good. A nice relief.
Yep, this Aston Martin McLaren battle continues now. As they, in fact, yes, there's been another change, hasn't there? So the Aston Martin got itself back ahead of the McLaren. 10-second stop-go penalty for car 501. That is not good news for Mike Robinson in the Balf Motorsport GT4 McLaren. That is for another pit stop infringement. No further detail on what it is, but that's a 10-second penalty.
Not a good weekend for Balf Motorsport.
No, again, Sean's mood not going to be improving as he hears the news that his GT4 car is being brought in for a 10-second stop-go penalty.
And single figures, 9 minutes and 44 seconds remaining in this mental race.
I was about to say it's the
Hashtag.
I was about to say it's the last 10 minutes of the race where things get exciting. It's already been exciting for the previous hour and 50 minutes, hasn't it? So
it's crazy.
What other sting in the tail do we have? Well, we've got more cars being warned about track limits, including the 47 car again of Maxime Martin, who's already been given a penalty, so he won't want to be...
He's playing with fire, really, that clerk of the course. I wouldn't be messing with him today.
Yes, I think he's almost past caring here, Maxime Martin, but he's only 1.3 seconds behind Johnny Adams, so 5th place could be Maxime Martin's if he keeps pushing on.
And it's points make prizes. That's how you win championships.
Absolutely, and in such a topsy-turvy race, any points that you can pick up could prove crucial come Donington Park at the end of the year. So this is the GT4 lead car. This is Callum Poynton. Remember, we saw Patrick Mathieson dicing away for the GT4 class lead earlier on in this car. Well, now Callum Poynton has been able to pull out actually a very comfortable lead. As far as this race goes, anyway, he's 17 seconds clear of Jesse Antela in 2nd place. The team looking on, as you say, HAC Motorsport. They know a thing or two about running a Jetta, don't they, Charlie? They've been running Janettas in various championships pretty much as long as Janettas have been around in GT racing.
Yeah, I recognise some of those guys as well, and there's some very, very strong team there with some of the people there. I can't remember their names, but there are some pretty key people in that team that are making that car handle really, really well. And remember that we've seen this car battling with the McLaren earlier for the first 50 minutes, did we see it roughly? So patience, didn't get aggressive, didn't get cross, didn't tap the back of the Aston or anything like that, the McLaren, sorry. Yeah, it was. It's a well-deserved win if they do the last 8 minutes. I'm not going to do commentator's curse.
The cars that were about to catch them, incidentally, to put a lap on them, were the cars that are battling over 5th place. So Maxime Martin has now caught Johnny Adam, and that's a battle worth checking in with over the final minute or so, or second and a half minutes or so of the race.
This looks like it's going to get messy with these three. This looks very, very entertaining. Put a blanket over them and you wouldn't be able to tell there are 3 cars under there.
Yeah, you do sort of wonder how much longer they can keep this close quarters racing up without some form of contact, don't you? They make their way up through pit path again. Still the number 4 car leading this group, therefore still in 3rd place in class. That is O'Brien. Matt Nicol-Jones in the Aston Martin once again now is the Aston Martin meet in a McLaren sandwich. But there is Jelmer Berman, car 116, leading the way. His teammate, of course, Lee Mole, who he shares the car with. Do you know the reason that it's car number 116?
No, give me a fact.
It's Lee Mole's house number. And
that's it?
Yes, exactly. And there's a bit of luck there as well, because he won the Dubai 24 hours running this number as well. So,
okay.
Yeah, Lee Mole...
I like that fact.
That's the reason.
Facts like that.
Oh, well, there we go. See, it's funny the things that you can dig out by having conversations in the press room before the race gets underway.
I'm going to find out David Addison knows that. I'm going to text him on the way home and see if we can outdo him.
It's a rare day that you can outdo David Addison on facts, that's for sure. There is Margot Sorensen in 2nd place. There is Ryan Ratcliffe not in 3rd place. I'm afraid that car has now gone a lap down, and it's been a bit of a very disappointing start to the season really for that squad. Change for 3rd place in GT4. Matt Nicol-Jones has found a way through. Finally, someone has managed to prise the door open and get past the number 4 car of Michael O'Brien, and now you've got Finley Hutchinson trying to do the same thing, goes from the outside to the inside. Oh, I fear there may have been some contact there, but they just got away with it.
It could have been, but I think the blue Aston, the blue McLaren number 10, just pulled back in time.
Yeah, that looked dodgy for a second. The Nissan, by the way, that is in this battle as well.
Yes.
That is the number 53 Nissan, which is being driven now by Martin Plowman. And so this is a 4-car tussle now for the bottom step of the podium in GT4. Well worth fighting for, and they're fighting very hard for it indeed. Just under 6 minutes to go, and any one of these 4 cars could still stand on the podium. Back down into the Tarzan hairpin, and up the inside comes the Nissan. Martin Plowman seizes his chance, so that is 5th position.
And he's gone and done it, he's made it stick. He's just literally bulldozed his way in there, pushed the McLaren wide to then say, you can't come back at me at the chicane. Yep. It's my spot. So he's only got 2 more to go before maybe some spoils and some champagne.
Yeah, and time to do it, and he's definitely got the speed as well, because he's been taking chunks of time out of these cars whilst they've been battling. This, of course, the car that Martin shares with Kelvin Fletcher, the Emmerdale actor. So Kelvin, it would be great to see Kelvin on the podium, wouldn't it? I don't think he's ever had a podium in British GT, so he'll be cheering Martin Plowman on from the sidelines. Out through turn 1 they go. His next target then is going to be Michael O'Brien, and that is going to be a slightly tougher pass perhaps, though it's been Michael that's been struggling a bit, hasn't it? The number 4 McLaren has not looked as solid on the track in this last 10 minutes or so, has it?
Yeah.
It's had a lot of defending to do. I fear that maybe it's overworked its tyres a little bit.
There's Charlie Hollins there, very experienced driver again in GTs and single-seaters.
Yes.
Doing a bit of driver coaching and maybe a bit of team management there as well, so...
It's all getting very hard to manage, isn't it, really, with Martin Plowman
4 minutes
inches
left.
away from the tail end of the number 4 McLaren of Michael O'Brien. He can see Matt Nicol-Jones escaping up the road, though, in the Aston Martin, so he really wants to make this move stick quickly, Charlie.
Yeah, and we've got if Nissan has a go at McLaren in front of it, it's going to have another McLaren snapping at his heels, and he looks like he's just outbraked himself, gone too wide. The McLaren's going to do the cutback on the inside now and push him wide, and he's lost the place again, but he's now going to be on the inside for the chicane. I think he's just managed to salvage it, but he definitely made a mistake there and went a little bit wide into the chicane, into Tarzan, which then made the little sort of whippet McLaren, the number 10 car, get very, very close there.
Yeah, it all got a bit touchy-feely then on the exit of the hairpin, but I don't think any serious contact was made, and the Nissan lives to fight another day. Now, what's the straight line speed like between these 2 cars? Fairly equal, I'd say. Even with a slipstream, the Nissan isn't really closing in massively, but Martin Plowman's going to have a look here, surely, down to the hairpin, Charlie.
Yeah, I'd have probably just stayed in the slipstream for a little bit longer, and then done the cutback on the inside, because now I've just left the door open for the number 10 McLaren behind, which is not giving up.
No, absolutely. Well, it's been up and down like a yo-yo, that number 10 car. Remember, it was the number 10 car of Finley Hutchinson that in the first place was battling away with Michael O'Brien here.
McLaren's
and,
no, he's now going to be on the outside. Sorry, Andy, he's now going to be on the outside again, but now he's lost momentum. McLaren number 4 has got a little bit further ahead now. Thanks guys, you battle away. I want a bit of fresh air now. I'm just going to chill out. So that has definitely given the number 4 car of O'Brien a little bit more breathing space.
Yeah, very frustrating this for Finley Hutchinson though, because as I was saying, he was the man who, to start all of this off, was fighting for position with the other McLaren, and now all of a sudden he's found himself losing places. Number 11 Aston Martin comes through. That is back on the lead lap now, Nicotine, and he's running in 8th place as well, so he has salvaged some good points out of this.
He's done a good job.
Yeah.
That team have worked absolute wonders with that car. That blue Aston has been hammered all day, and it's been bouncing over the curves pretty much nearly every lap as well, so it's taken some stick as well.
Yes, it has. This car is a little bit worse, but I don't think there are any cars out there that haven't had any contact over the course of the race. But Jelmer Berman in the race lead, the Mercedes, is now only a couple of laps away from victory in round number 3 of the championship. He's got, well, at last check, it was about 6.5 seconds in hand over Marcus Sorensen in second, and yeah, 6.4 seconds now the margin. He dives up the inside of this squabble that's going on in GT4, and he will want to be extra careful. The last thing you want to see as the race leader, we're nearly at the end of a 2-hour race, you've got a comfortable lead. Oh good, we've got a group of GT4 cars battling right in front of us. This could all go horribly wrong.
Well, we saw it, didn't we, with Minshew at Donington? Was it last year or the year before when he went off at the old hairpin into the gravel? And just basically threw it away, really. But yeah, we have seen it. You know, that Nissan could quite easily have tagged the back of that Mercedes just then, just by running out of talent or doing something a little bit wrong or a little bit different and just being a bit too greedy on the circuit. But no, he's cleanly through that little battle. And yeah, 1.5 minutes remaining of this breathtaking 2-hour British GT round run by SRO here at Rockingham. And it's definitely warmed up in the commentary box. It was cold.
Yeah,
it's now quite warm now.
We were shivering when this race got underway. We're not now, that's for sure. The battles aren't over yet either, by the way, because Callum McLeod in 4th place has caught back up to Darren Turner. They're less than half a second apart now. So Bentley versus Aston Martin for 3rd, and we've got a 3-way fight for 5th because Johnny Adam and Maxime Martin have been caught by, guess who? Phil Keed. So there are 3 cars battling away for 5th place out on the circuit as well as we go through onto our final lap of the race. So battles up and down the order wherever you look, even at the end of a 2-hour endurance race. The GT4 battle likewise. There is McLeod. Has he found a way past Darren Turner yet? I don't think he has. Yes, he has. Darren Turner is down to 4th place. So Callum McLeod has found his way onto the podium. So at least one of the Bentleys is running well here. Callum McLeod in car number 7, taking 3rd place away from Darren Turner right at the death, and Johnny Adam in turn lost about 4 seconds that time.
There was definitely contact between those two. Sorry, Andy, but I know you were but definitely contact between those two just then at Yentwood. So yeah. I think it was a racing thing. It wasn't deliberate, whatever. It was just the lunge was made, the move was made, and just a tiny bit of contact was had.
Well, how annoyed will Finley Hutchinson be here if after the end of this race he still hasn't found a way past Michael O'Brien? So you can sense his desperation here starting to creep in. They're heading down to the Tarzan hairpin, already exiting the Tarzan hairpin though. Right on cue is Jelmer Berman, and he is looking good now with just 3 corners to go to take the victory in what has been a very frantic race, Charlie. That is definitely the word, frantic. But Jelmer Berman, with the car that he shared with Lee Mole, Lee did a great job in the first stint of staying out of trouble when it was all kicking off. Jelmer Berman took over, made the crucial pass at the crucial time, and they will win round number 3 of the 2018 British GT Championship. What a drive from them. Marco Sorensen brings the Aston Martin along the line, across the line in 2nd place. He and Derek Johnson will be on the 2nd step of the podium, and Callum McLeod, some way back, is going to come home on the podium, I believe. He's just making his way out of the final corner now, and he is going to finish in 3rd place. This is our GT4 race leader. It's number 55 Ginetta that was involved in that titanic tussle in the first half of the race when Patrick Mathieson was on board, and Callum Boyton is going to bring it home. A reasonably comfortable winner, I think. We saw Patrick there down in the pit garages, biting his fingernails, just waiting to see the car cross the start-finish line. Nervous times. It's many racing drivers say that it's harder.
Car can still conk out now.
Well, exactly. And you're always, if you're out of the car watching, you're nervous because you're out of control. Yeah. The driver in the car, in a way, there's not that much to worry about. Really, he's just doing a good job. But there is Patrick, and he is about to see the number 55 Ginetta come across the start-finish line, headlights ablaze, to win the GT4 element of this 3rd round of the championship. And now they can celebrate. The HHC Motorsport squad have done a very good job of preparing that car this weekend, and they are victorious in GT4. Yeah. Jelmer Berman, though, makes his way down towards the hairpin, and they are victorious, the Mercedes-AMG, and that is our 6th different manufacturer to win at Rockingham in 6 different years. Jelmer Berman brought it across the line, but the man who started the car was Lee Mole. He did a great job staying out of trouble, and he's down in the pit lane with Jenny.
Lee, what a result. You must be delighted.
Yeah, really pleased. I'm really surprised, to be honest, because we started, I had a disastrous quali, so to start, bang last, and I genuinely have no idea how we ended up winning, to be honest, because we seemed to make up so many places during the pit stop. I know Jelmer managed to take a couple of cars during his stint, so he did phenomenally well, but yeah, it was quite a bizarre race. You kind of come in and, we were 8th, I think, and then we went out and we were 4th, so bizarre, really.
Such a topsy-turvy race. I know you want to go over and join Jelmer as well, but for you to win, I think that's your first overall win, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's kind of been a hell of a long time coming. I've been doing this championship for 5 years now. So yeah, and genuinely on a circuit that I don't particularly like, it's a bit strange to actually win.
It's your new favourite.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is now.
Well, go celebrate. I'll see you on the podium. Well done.
Thank you very much, Jenny. And out of the car clambers Jelmer Berman to rapturous applause down in the pit lane.
Yes.
And he will be very happy with that. But really, I know Jelmer did a good job with that decisive move to take the race lead, but we can't, I don't think, overstate the importance of Lee Mole and what he did in that race, because it was all kicking off around him in that first stint. And we made the point after the pit stops that we hadn't really seen the Mercedes all race, but that was because he'd been staying out of trouble, keeping the car clean. And if you can hand over a clean car to a driver like Jelmer Berman, he'll go and do the business for you in his sprint.
Exactly, and that's a really good pairing, that as well. And obviously, interesting fact of 116 being Lee Mole's house number as well is interesting enough. And also, there was a little bit of damage on that car. And remember, we saw the wheel arch fly off after the.
That was 47 Aston Martin, wasn't it? Maxime Martin, but he did recover to 6th place. Yeah,
so we've seen loads, and we're going to watch back through some of it, I'm sure, at some point.
Yes, I think we need to just sit down and take it all in, really, because there was so much happened over the last 2 hours. You wouldn't really know where to begin, would you, looking back at some of the highlights? But there are Lee and Jelmer down in the pit lane. There is our GT4 race winner, Callum Poynton. He clambers out of the car. There's Jenny as well. Hopefully we'll be able to have a chat to a few of the drivers in a moment or two, but hugs all round at HHC Motorsport, and Callum and Patrick Mathieson, both of whom have come out of Ginetta Racing. Patrick Mathieson, a former Ginetta Junior racer, and Callum Poynton, Ginetta GT4 Super Cup. So Callum's had a bit more experience in a GT4 type car, but Patrick Mathieson was really the one that had all of the battling to do in the first half of the race, wasn't it? Because he was involved in that stint-long battle with the McLaren, and kept themselves in contention, so that when he handed over to Callum, again, he was in good position and was able to take advantage and win the race.
Yeah, exactly. It's just... Well,
yeah, Jenny is down there, I believe, and yes, she is going to have a chat with our GT4 race winners.
Yes, I am. Guys, congratulations. Callum's just taking his lid off and his phone's out. What a race. That was topsy-turvy all the way, and what a fight. You must be delighted.
I was shredding my ass off. That was just Charlie Feck. He did an amazing job there defending his team himself there. Pretty tough to get through there, so I'm happy with this one.
What pressure, what a race. I mean, what's your emotions right now?
Oh, amazing. I mean, it was a long time coming. Obviously, Owen Park was a bit of a washout, really. It's a bit of a shame, but we've always had the pace in the dry, and in the wet we proved ourselves P4, and I knew I had a confidence in the team and Patrick to bring the car back in the first stint, and then, like I say, with the safety car and the safety car again, and I could just see the McLaren in my back of my mirrors thinking, if he just gets 1 or 2 jumps on me on down the straight, he might be on my back, but he just kept on picking away and just consistently doing good laps, and just slowly just brought it further and further away. And I think it was about 3 laps to go. I said to the team, I said, how far are we away? Gapped, and he said 18.5 seconds. I said, let's make it 20 then. And almost, I think I got told off really to slow down, but no, I think we did do a good job. Do you know what I mean? But massive thank you to the team, Patrick, all the sponsors for both ourselves, and bring on Silverstone, I think.
Patrick, how hard is it to just stand there and watch when you're in the lead of a race, but you can see how many people are kind of behind in a shark's tail?
I think my heart was pumping harder in the pit than it was when I was in the car. So it was pretty hard, yeah.
Well, congratulations. As you say, next stop Silverstone in a month's time, and you're going to want to do it all over again after a race like that.
Oh, definitely. Hopefully we can just be as consistent as we can, a bit longer race, so just keep pulling away, hopefully. So thank you very much. No good.
Good job. Well done. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much, Jenny. Here is confirmation of our result for round 3 of the 2018 British GT Championship. It is Lee Mole and Hjalmar Berman who take victory by 4.3 seconds in the end over Derek Johnston and Marco Sorensen. Mercedes from Aston Martin, from Bentley, the top 3 different makers of car on the podium. Ian Logie and Callum McLeod get that 3rd place finish in the Team Park Racing car. Then it's the next 3 Aston Martins with Andrew Howard and Darren Turner in the Beach Team car 4th. Flick Haig and Johnny Adam, despite a trip through the gravel, they were still 5th. And Graham Davidson and Maxime Martin, despite a pit lane penalty, they came home to finish in 6th. John Minshaw and Phil Keane, golden opportunity for them really to take some points today, and they didn't really manage to capitalise on it, so they are only 7th. Mark Farmer and Nicky Team are 8th. Rick Parfitt Jr. and Ryan Ratcliffe, the car that won the championship last year, having a dismal day in 9th, 1 lap down. And then we have the first of our GT4 cars, Patrick Mathieson and Callum Poynton, victorious in GT4, a top 10 overall as well. 11th place then for Steve Johansson, former Fun Cup and VW racer, and Jesse Antela. Then it was the Matt Nicol-Jones Aston Martin that he was sharing with Moore. They were rounding out the podium positions ahead of Calvin Fletcher and Martin Plowman, who just miss out on that podium, but there is a Nissan up there on the podium nonetheless. Then it's another 2 McLarens, the Charlie Fagg and Michael O'Brien car ahead of Dan Mackay and Finley Hutchison machine. Then Ben Green and Ben Tuck were next in line in the first of the BMWs. I thought the BMWs might be a bit more of a factor than they were. Then Proctor and Albert in a McLaren, Wood and Jan Jonk in their Aston Martin GT4. Another McLaren next in line, that was the Johnson and Robinson machine. And the first of the AMG GT4 Mercedes, that was the Scott Mulvin and Jones car that rounds out the top 20. And again, they had a bit of a trying afternoon in the end. Outside the top 20, Alexander Sherpen in his BMW was 21st. Then it was the Murphy and Broadhurst Mercedes in 22nd. The first of the Jaguars, Steve McCulley, despite the various dramas that he had at the start of the race, he was able to bring that Jaguar home in 23rd place. 24th for Quinn and McDonald's Toyota. 25th for the Patterson and Osborne McLaren. 26th for Newbold and Burns in their Ginetta. Then another Ginetta, the Wallace and Jackson version in 27th. 28th for Adam Ballon and Ben Barnicoat in their McLaren. And then a few that didn't make to the end, unfortunately. Devin Modell and Stuart Moore in the Nissan. The Sam Dahan and Johnny Cocker Lamborghini never got back out on track after its mandatory pit stop. Norfolk and Wolf in their Jaguar, they were in early retirement. So too were Tom Canning and Senan Fielding in their Toyota. Anna Valeska, we spoke to her in the pit lane. That Ginetta failed to reach the finish. And of course, our first retirement, a really high profile one, was the Sean Balfe and Rob Bell McLaren 650F GT3 that ended its day in the Rockingham concrete wall. Well, there we are. We have 6 bottles of champagne. We have 6 trophies awaiting our podium finishers, and onto the podium we have our GT3 teams first, and so that is the Ian Logie and Callum McLeod pairing. Great to have a Bentley back on the podium. They've just been waiting for the rain to go away, really, because we know the Bentley is quick. They just struggle in the wet. We've got Marco Sorensen up there in the 17 car, along with Derek Johnston. They were 2nd place in this race, but the race winners in the AMG GT3 Mercedes are Hjalmar Berman and Lee Mole. The first ever victory for Lee Mole and Hjalmar Berman. And I made the point earlier on, showing the variety of manufacturers in the championship, the 6th different manufacturer to win this race in the last 6 years. Trophies all round, some pretty stunning silverware again there to go on the mantelpiece, and they are held aloft by the drivers, who I think were all rather pleased with themselves to have survived all of the chaos of that race and survive it in a podium position as well. So the drivers are swapping trophies around, it would seem, between 2nd and 3rd place.
It's a rare thing on the podium, but might as well sort it out now.
It can happen. Well, whoever the poor person was who had the job of putting the trophies on the podium would have been doing it as quickly as possible, because it was very cold out there. Yes. And it's very windy on top of the Rockingham pit garages, so I'm sure they were trying to get back into the warmth as soon as possible. But there we go. The trophies are now in the correct places, and very shortly we may well see the champagne start to fly, because These guys, this is the only racing they'll be doing for quite some time. The next round, remember, of the British GT Championship is not until May at Snetterton, and indeed the corks are coming out. And this is such a good feeling, isn't it, Charlie, to have got through the race, you've done all that hard work, and now you can let off some steam.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. You know, it's 2 hours is a very long stint, especially when you're the second driver in the pits, waiting for that. You know, is my teammate going to make a mistake? Is he going to muck up? What's going to happen? Is there going to be any problems? But yeah, that is, and it really does sting. It really does sting. If anyone's never been on the podium before and had champagne squirted all over them, it's very. Quite painful actually, but a great feeling, absolutely great feeling. Always try and save a bit for the lads down in the workshop, because everyone likes a little drink after a race weekend, because it's just such hard work. It's such high pressure as well. So you've got the GT4.
Yep, should be the GT4 cars, I believe. That'll
probably trophies put out in the right order, I would have thought.
Yes, they'll take their time over this, I'm sure. But the bottles of bubbly are placed back in position. Also, something that's fairly painful is getting walloped on the head with a cork that's just come flying out of one, which I could attest to personally.
Have you really?
Yes, on more than one occasion, actually. Worryingly, I'm sure that there are racing drivers out there who have a grudge against me. But there we go. The GT3 drivers,
they hurt, don't they? Yeah.
They really, well, they come out at quite some force, don't they? And if you find yourself at point blank range, it hurts especially. Anyway, the GT3 drivers have made their way off the podium, and there we see they've been very careful, aren't they, over the bits of silverware they've been given, because they're fairly valuable things. But
he's experienced. He's taken the lid off, but he's putting it back in the envelope, so he can just show people rather than having to take it out of the box all the time. So he's scrapping the box.
Oh, there we go.
Box is going in the bin. That's it. No, box is in the bin. That's it. Rubbish.
It seemed like a good idea, and then it was all a bit too much like hard work, wasn't it, with all of the wind blowing through. So GT4 teams now making their way up onto the podium as well. Good to have a Nissan on the podium in GT4 as well, because that car, they've been developing it for a couple of years now, and they keep on hitting mechanical dramas, but second placed for the Nissan in GT4 here today. Good to see they're on the right track with that car.
Yeah, no, definitely. I've been very, very impressed with, but there haven't really been that many mechanical failures, really, if you think about it. Okay, you've seen the McLaren, the Lamborghini, we've only seen a few, but yeah, very, very impressed with all of those cars, really, and the Nissan especially as well.
Yeah, well, it does seem to be in modern day GT racing, if there's a mechanical issue, it doesn't tend to be engine, it tends to be electrical, doesn't it? Because there are so many electrics, and that's sort of what we were hearing from Barwell Motorsport when they had that issue with Johnny Cocker, that it was an electrical glitch that they just couldn't quite get sorted out. Right then, highlights of what was a very dramatic 2 hours of racing. It might take 2 hours just to show us all of the highlights. It was a clean start, actually, as the teams headed off into the unknown, but the cleanliness did not last that long, unfortunately. Sean Ball ending up tangling with one of the Invictus Games Jaguars, and the McLaren that was making good progress was heavily into the wall. Flick Haig also had a moment down at the Tarzan hairpin, but she was able to dig her way out. Very lucky indeed, whilst there was contact in GT4, the number 56 car of David Patterson getting tipped into a spin. That all meant that the safety car had to come out, not for the last time, but once it came back in, the racing was equally as frenetic. There was a bit of contact there between Devon Modell and Derek Johnston, and a brilliant bit of racing up towards the sharp end of the field as Graham Davison seized second place from Sander Hahn and chased on after leading cars. Pit stop time came around, and there was drama at Barwell as John Minshaw pulled into the wrong area of his pit space. That meant that not only was the pit stop delayed, but they were given a stop-go penalty later on in the race for having too many men over the wall. The Nissan was back in the gravel trap, unfortunately, though. That was Struan Moore who found his way into the Tarzan gravel. Another safety car period was called, and at this part of the race, it was Maxime Martin who was in the lead. Aston Martins were battling up and down the order, though. That was the 99 car doing battle. That was Darren Turner losing a place to the number 17 of Marco Sorensen. But out in front, we had Jelmer Berman starting to make the charge, diving up the inside of Phil Keane to take what was second at that point. But when the number 47 car was brought in for its penalty, the Mercedes was able to inherit the lead. We had damage for the 47 car that hit a bump over at the left-hander at Piff Paff, but once Jelmer Berman hit the race lead, he was never able to be caught. Jelmer was therefore able to come home and take the victory, and it was a phenomenal drive from he and Lee Mole. Well, Charlie, it's been a fantastic day's racing here at Rockingham. What drama we had in that 2-hour race. Thank you very much for joining me to help me talk us our way through it. It's been a fantastic day. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us as well. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time at Snetterton, the next round of the championship, the 9th and 10th of May. We hope you'll all join us then for more cracking action.